This guy. Hello, there's me. And there's desktop audio. Hello. Someone say something.
Oh. Hello.
Okay. That seems alright. Nick's not here this week. It's like the second this year where we've not had Nick, I'm afraid. He's in San Francisco right now. Sorry to dox Nick. We were considering moving it back to next week, but then he might have a thing that comes up, so we'll just do it. It's just us. And we have like 5 questions, so today's going to be really short. Well, we'll see, but probably
it's going to be like 2.5 hours instead of 3.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. We might genuinely just do like an hour. I've got a bit of stuff I can talk about, but oh, I don't have anything on stream right now. Oh, I just need does this give me momentum? I'm sorry. Come on, you can do it. Where is it? I don't know what this... Oh, I think I know what it is. It's this. There we go. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll have to mess with something in a minute. Okay, we're going live a month ago. Wait. Oh! Wait, and give me the announce. We're going live again a month ago. I just copied the timestamp and it's the... Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, hello. So yeah, Nick's not here. The casual Q&A. Yes. And I'm disorganized, as always. Okay, so, with that out of the way, whatever intro that was. Wait, is this... Oh, I wish I had, like, an extra monitor. I guess we can move... Wait, we've got an introduction. Sorry, let's go back. Introduce thyselves, please. Let's go down the list.
At the top. I'm B. Okay, I'm at the top. I do programming. That's what I do.
Epic.
In that case, the next one will be me. I am the web developer. I do stuff. I make our dashboard look good and work good. That's basically it.
Uh-huh.
Hi, I'm Lumia. I do Defrag.
You do a bit of other stuff, but okay. And yeah, hi, I'm Tom Fingerprints. I'm department head for web stuff, web systems lead, whatever we call it. I do a lot of the same stuff as Gordy. Thanks for the very loady. As well as a lot of our game UI and various other things. Okay, so what has everyone been up to? I guess if we want to...
Skipping over me, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry, Traz. We've got Traz. I forgot that you existed.
Wow, okay, I see how it is.
Well, you didn't want to be here, so...
I had to ask Traz to join. Traz
me?
isn't staying for the whole stream even because he didn't want to.
I'm not staying for the whole stream. I have other stuff to do. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm Traz, Alex, but most people know me by Traz, head of media, UI, UX. Do a lot of graphic designing UI stuff, and most recently working on a website with Tom.
Yeah, and we'll show that off in a minute. In fact, yeah, let's move on. What's everyone been up to? Should we show the website first?
Yeah,
let's show the website. What's everyone been up to? And then, is this going to work? We've been working the new front page. This is just a small little thing we've got going. Where is it? Spooky Chromium, I call it the window. It's like the dev Chromium thing. Yeah. Wait, you see that my tabs at the top of like Googling lazy loading. Okay. Whatever. So, currently, momentummod.org is a bit of a mess, this site. It's not that much of a mess. It looking bad isn't the end of the world, but we don't want to keep updating or working on this because it's kind of weirdly nestled into the dashboard, which is the complicated part of the site. So the dashboard is like all the stuff of like submitting maps and looking at map leaderboards and stuff, the web interface for all that. That's a big deal, and that's in Angular, which is a framework that is not very good. But it's okay. It's a front end framework, very complicated, million bits of JavaScript. It's horrible. Then this site for some reason also in Angular. We were just like, oh yeah, let's make this all part of one code base, even though this has basically no JavaScript or anything besides this. So it's in Angular, but also I wanted to get rid of it. It just gets in the way. So I deleted it like 3 months ago. And so we've had to redo the new one. We knew we wanted to redo the new one anyway, and it felt good to get it out the way with now. So there's the old one. This is a kind of work in progress new one. I might make this guy taller. I don't know. I'm on quite a big monitor, but it's a bit oh, I also broke the this has got like a video background right now that I don't think we're going to keep because it's not very good. Where is it?
That's recent.
No, wait, die. No, I destroyed the logo. Wait, where's the video background? Where is it? Where is it? This guy. Comment. There. Okay. This is the more recent one. Yeah. What is going on there? Interesting. News thing. Bit work in progress. This text isn't done, but we redesigned this stuff, and this has been kind of me and Traz together. So yeah, you can see where some stuff is like the copywriting's not done. Like the rocket jump is based on the soldier class from TF2, comma lorem ipsum, yada yada yada. Also, I broke loads of styling. Oh, what happened? Oh, this is too tall, so this looks bad. Anyway, not quite finished. I'm gonna be working this a bit more later today. I'll probably stream that if anyone wants to watch. And then we got these new game mode videos. We re-recorded these. They're at 60 FPS now. And yeah, new bento boxes. Traz wanted bento boxes, which are these things.
I love bento boxes.
It's just a grid. And yeah, these are like interactive. You can pretend to download maps and leaderboards, and this it's like overkill, but
very overkill.
But we were gonna just have like SVGs for this, and then I was like, I could do this in HTML, and then I could make them like interactive. So yeah, this doesn't work yet. I'll finish this anyway. This has just been I've been a bit tied up for a minute, to be honest. So I took a bit of time off and then came back and was doing this. Which has been quite fun. And yeah, this is Traz just some of the Figma stuff. You did a bit of the HTML stuff, which
yeah,
I'd read it.
Original redesign that we kind of were working on, but we changed a bunch of stuff around.
Yeah. So yeah, this is just a new thing. This will be live in a bit. Just like how long have I started on this like this 13th or something. So I've just been working on this for a bit, but yeah, this is slightly tangential to other work. It's just we needed to get this out of the way with. It's the random tagline system is gone. I'm afraid it used to produce randomized versions of this. Lots of modern websites like to just do this. Some of the sites I've been looking for, they like to just make versions of this, and it's silly. I don't think it will confuse people. Maybe the download thing, but yeah.
Maybe you can make if they click a certain number of times, it pops up hey, this
doesn't actually work. Could do that. But yeah, it's kind of you find it's kind of a different world from the kind of web design I usually do, this kind of stuff. Of the this kind of very kind of styling based kind of non-functional stuff, and looking at a lot of example sites for stuff. There's not a new framework. This thing has no framework. We use Angular. We've always used Angular for the dashboard, and we're keeping Angular. Angular's okay. I don't love it, but it's fine, and we're not going to rewrite the whole thing. Though quite a bit of it has changed and improved in the last year. But the main thing is we don't want this to be in a framework. This doesn't need to be. This is a couple of HTML files, a couple of CSS files. The one thing I use is a Vite, and I have a little plugin for bundling HTML files or nesting them. That's it. So yeah, fun videos. We even got climb, even though the climb clips are a bit weird. But yeah. So yeah, this will be out at 010 when we get the new site stuff deployed. So yeah, just one of the little chores that we've had on the list for a couple of years that doesn't take that long, but I've just got to sit down and finish. Okay, fine, I'll spend 2 weeks doing this and then never look at it again. Okay, then what have other people been up to? I'll go back to game capture, I guess.
Name. I was doing profile page.
Gordy's been working on the profile page with the dashboard. I don't have that running right now, so I can't show it. But yeah.
I could do it, but like
No, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, it would be bad.
Am I in?
So,
I'm in, like, thingy mode.
And just believe it looks
Yeah, this all the
quite
new
better
desktop
than
stuff.
the old one.
Yeah. Well, we kind of like I destroyed the profile thing as I was like refactoring a bunch of Angular stuff, and then
The issue with like our old one was that they had stats, but like our stats are currently not really that good. So the new one doesn't have this, and probably will have like a whole redesign yet again a bit later when we'll like think about what we really want to see on the profile page. But in the meantime, the current one looks good and quite better than the old one.
Yeah, the basic shapes are fine. It's mainly just like the actual components for like stats things are crap right now. We don't have very good stats. That's something we'll be having more of in the future when we have more sort of core system stuff. I'll talk about that shortly. Then, yeah, I don't know if anyone else has like much to update on. Anyone? Well, I can move on to talking.
I've started working on splitting VQ3 out.
Yes.
For 0.10. I mean, it's not very like visible progress because it won't be in the game till 0.10, but I've started on that.
Yeah, and with that, a lot of 0.10 has been... Around the time we started designing 0.10, we didn't know how we were going to have VQ3 and CPM. The same with like climb, like even though back then we hadn't decided that we were going to have 3 climb variants, which we are, we didn't really know how we were going to like coherently have 3 climb variants and like what the relationship between like a game mode and like a climb variant would be, or a variant. What we're doing is what am I saying? Lost my train of thought for a moment. They are just all different game modes. Some stuff like styles will come later, and these aren't game modes. They're kind of like alterations of a current thing, but they don't tend to change base like core physics. But anything that has different physics, like CPM VQ3 or Defrag climb modes, or like different tick rates, like if we do surf 100 tick in the future, which we made, like those would, because the everything changes, like all leaderboards are shifted when you do that, or like all leaderboards are just a different set of leaderboards, right? We kind of split stuff out, so we have this concept of submodes, which we've spoken about a bit before, but yeah. So yeah, Lumi's been doing CPM VQ3 side of that. Gamecast has already done, I think, the climb side of that. I'll slightly lose track, but at 0.10 we'll have those submodes and all the UI for it. That's kind of just one of the ways that like 0.10 has touched so many different areas. This map is Defrag Nude ADR Haste. I would play it, but I can't play and talk very well. Right. With that, shall we move on to the next question, which is kind of going to just be me talking about what I'm already talking about. If I ordered this right. I did. Okay, there we go. When released by grigorierr. I didn't. We normally have someone else read that. I don't care. I've already read it. So, I thought we'd talk about release stuff a bit and 0.10 progress, because, like, last Q&A we were showing off the kind of, some of the specific progress being done just towards 0.10. That stuff is still ongoing. I'll talk about some of those areas there as I talk about this, but more broadly, I figured in this Q&A I'll talk a bit about stuff between now and 0.10 and how that's... We've spoken about this quite a bit before, but this kind of stuff all kind of mutates as we work on specific things. Like, we have a pretty good roadmap, but stuff kind of shifts. I need to just... One sec. Let me do this, and then I'm going to switch to MS Paint, hopefully. Hello? Yes. No? Okay, wait. No. One sec. Is this going to work? Microsoft Paint. I think what I'm going to do is just do a whole monitor capture, because I don't have time to mess with stuff, and it's fine, and I do monitor captures all the time.
All the stuff we showed off at the last Q&A, like all the zoning stuff, doesn't feel like it was a month ago. It feels so recent.
I think the last Q&A was only like 3 weeks ago, or something like that. I think it was on like the 1st of this month, or something crazy like that. So it might have only been 3 weeks between then, or 4. I think it must have been 4, surely. Okay, yeah, sorry. What am I doing? Monitor capture. Where is that? Display capture. There, fine. This guy. That I'll have to do. Sorry about this. A bit of a janky setup. Let's just crop the bottom off. Beautiful. Okay. So we've had this document. I think we made this about maybe 18 months ago, if I had to guess. Talking about stuff we've got for O10. O10's still not out in that time. But then 27th of April. Bloody hell. Okay. But then the kind of milestones between here and then have kind of changed a bit since then as well. So, can I draw on this? Good. Okay. So, where we're at with O10 right now is zoning refactor is like zoning refactor is basically done. I'm gonna give it like a 90%. Let's make you slightly smaller. 90%. Web API rewrite. This has been done for ages. Map submission. This is at like, I have a few more things to do, but I'm gonna say, ambitiously, I'm gonna say 85%. Lumper, I'm gonna say 80% because we know it's gonna have a bunch of bugs we have to fix. We're gonna have a lumper release coming out, hopefully, really quite soon. Hopefully in the next month. BSP convert, I think, is mostly done. About the same, about 80. But there's this kind of misses some stuff as well. This is the thing. Most of this stuff is kind of done, but it's wiring it up to other things. So right now, what Rio's working on is replays. And getting replays to work with O10 because, well, I guess what I should start by saying is this, the bonus and stage runs, this is in here. And this is just part of this, and it's basically done. The thing that isn't done is like submitting all of that and making... The backend kind of works with it. Sorry, this is a very disorganized presentation. The backend kind of works with it. The game stuff Panda is currently hooking up to it. The thing that's complicated is replays and replay recording. So we have O11, sorry, it's the big replay refactor. However, with stage times working, we need to be able to submit like a partial recorded replay as we, like if you're doing like a run on a main track, let's say like a surf map with 5 stages and you beat the second stage. You've just done a run session on just that stage, and we need to send a chunk of replay. So it's complicated. And our current replay system isn't really organized for that. So whilst O11 is the replay stuff, we're already having to think about changing replay stuff quite a lot. And in fact, what Rio's been doing lately is these kind of really difficult technical challenges of kind of where the replay system lives on the server versus the client. I don't know this stuff all that well. For one, I've not been following it very much, but also I'm bad with like low-level engine programming or just source engine stuff. I'm like the worst licensee at it. So I don't think anyone here can talk about that too much. But essentially, like this bit of like replay refactor replays. Well, sorry. Maybe what's best if I'll go through everything we have between now and then, and okay. So replay refactor. That's what we had planned this time a while ago, and that is still going to be a thing, and I think we will do O11, which will be basically that. Rank point system and XP system. This is something that kind of already exists but does need some reworking, so I don't know quite how to qualify these, but I don't know if they really fall under a milestone. Learn mode probably doesn't end up being a milestone. Learn mode isn't very much programming. It's mostly like mapper work, and generally our milestones at this point are being decided based on like the core game programming stuff getting complete, because so much of our game is like this programming based stuff. So I don't know if we would end up doing a O12 milestone for this, maybe, but learn mode is something we do still want. That's something where some of these things like desirable, I'm going to just say right now, tricksurf, I'm going to fight someone if we do tricksurf before 1.0. Like I think we're all basically on board that tricksurf we don't need by 1.0, and it's loads of work, and we should just be focusing on getting the game out. So tricksurf, I'm going to ambitiously scribble out. Dedicated lobbies, I don't know. I don't know how much work dedicated lobby is, so I can talk. Same with races, I'm scribbling out races. We're not doing that before 1.0 unless we suddenly get way more devs than we currently have, which we won't. So, yeah. We might, but, you know. So, we then have, so O11, some of the replay stuff is currently being done already. Learn mode and rank point system, a lot of this is just web work. It would be great to be getting more web devs, because this would be stuff that we could be really moving along a lot faster with overall release if we can get this, because we really do want to have the whole cosmetic system, all that stuff. I don't think we care about very much at all, or I don't think we're planning for 1.0. I'm not sure if everyone agrees on that. I've been personally advocating for not doing cosmetics for 1.0. But we'll definitely have like levels, like the level indicator thing you get in game, like the this guy, these levels, this XP system, clearly this already kind of works. I mean, the new backend had to port to this and stuff, but yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't even quite see it. You know, this guy. I'm level 41 apparently. Amazing. This page isn't done. Oh yeah, and we even have like this bit explaining the level stuff, prestige system, this stuff. A lot of this is kind of done. It needs some technical work to get working at a larger scale. Not so much of these levels actually, more so the ranking system. So these are levels. Ranking is then the like per game mode like leaderboards that say like who is best in surf or whatever, and you get points for beating ranked tracks where like a leaderboard, so a ranked leaderboard I guess, which is like a track on a map, like a main track or a bonus track. So something like a map like this would be ranked in Defrag because it's a high quality map. You can also have leaderboards that are unranked, but don't worry too much about that. So I'm going to go back to the thingy. Wait. Oh, I'm just a display capture, aren't I? I'm sorry. So the rank point system, getting that to work performantly, is going to be quite a lot of work for us. Basically because ranks are constantly shifting. They're incredibly volatile. Because if you think about it, like if someone does a run on a map with like 1,000 existing runs, like, and you get rank 1, right? We then have to bump 1,000 runs and change like the XP for them, which is really, really, really complicated, right? Because it's just very slow to do, and it's like just incredibly programmatically expensive. Mainly just writing that data to, if you're using a conventional database like we use Postgres, SQL, doing those writes is very, very slow. That's what we currently do. No, sorry, we don't update ranks quite like, or do we? I think we do, and it's just incredibly slow. But we can't have that for the future. It's just not tenable. So we have a plan for a future system for that, but it's a fair bit more complicated. So that's one of the sort of 2 more complicated web systems we're going to be doing in the future. It's really hard. We have some really quite clear plans for how we're going to do this. I don't want to go into the technical stuff too much, but basically XP won't be stored in database in that way. It'll be stored in Redis, and there'll be a very highly optimized service that's running constantly, pulling stuff from Postgres, recalculating rank stuff, and giving you a new rank. It might mean that your exact rank XP, or where exactly your rank XP comes from, might not be, like, you might be able to completely break it down at any one time. But it's complicated. Update using mass instead of checking a particular score. I'm not quite sure what you mean, but ultimately your overall rank on a game mode is going to be the sum of the ranks you have for like the rank points you got for every run you submitted on a ranked leaderboard. And so if a ranked leaderboard changes and your rank on that leaderboard changes, your overall sum changes. So the maths isn't the hard part. Computers can do maths incredibly fast. What's harder is storing and writing that data effectively. Like computers can crunch through numbers stupid fast. In some ways, like, you know, if you want, we could do this using a GPU or simmed if we need to do like certain kind of number crunching incredibly quickly. That's not the difficult thing. The difficult thing is like pulling all that data constantly and actually just reading that from Postgres and then writing it probably to Redis, and like the kind of stuff involved there. It should be doable, but it's a much more complicated system with the current thing, which is basically if someone gets a rank higher than you, we update your like rank for that map in the run table in SQL. It's just too slow to be doable in the future. So that's the thing we'll be working on in the future. Sorry to go into too much technical detail, but hopefully I'm trying to sort of present some of the more complicated technical challenges we know we have between now and 1.0. This is more of a web thing and more open source and a bit less stressy than some of the closed source game dev stuff. And I'm quite looking forward to working on this. But yeah, so rank point system, that is a refactor we'll be doing between now and 1.0. But yeah, we also have some plans that we're not all that sure on, but of doing maybe a kind of trophy system that splits up ranks, kind of like how servers have, like you get like a specific like name, role or whatever, adept or expert or whatever as a thing. We can have a kind of idea for that would be a bit different, but we may have for 1.0. Can rank leaderboards be downgraded in priority? Not for 1.0. For 1.0 we want ranking stuff to be... One thing that the system does give us is it does mean that we can kind of recalculate everything from the start if we want to. So we can be a bit more ready to be like, okay, we might not have this algorithm quite how we want at the very start, and we just adjust it in the future and recalculate everything. But yeah. Then No, 010 is the next major milestone, this one. 1.0 is kind of this, and then maybe a bit after 013. But these milestones really aren't set in stone right now. I think we probably will reconsider some of these quite a bit once we get to after 010. Just to reiterate, like 010 is the biggest update we've kind of ever done. 010 is us sitting down trying to think, okay, what do we need to get finished between now and 1.0, and like what just isn't up to service, and a lot of that stuff of rewriting the whole web backend and a lot of the front end dashboard, like a lot of that stuff is like just not it's been years of work and something we've known we've had to do for years, but we've kind of jammed a lot of it into 010. 010 is kind of getting over this hill of just redoing the stuff that is like completely unsalvageable, that was written in kind of 2018 or so, when the project was quite ambitious, but kind of, if you want to think about it in software terms, you could say that like some of the stuff written around then was a kind of minimum viable product. And then as we actually start to try to get 1.0 out and think about something that's actually stable, we're not going to have to rewrite. Or if we had to rewrite, we could do it in chunks and it would be doing it in a sensible way. This is kind of the move from getting the basic MVP out to actually getting something like properly functional and of like serviceable quality. Not that it's perfect, but it's a lot better, and we can continue using this in the long term. Whilst our original backend was like really not something that we could keep using at a large scale, and it was just a complete nightmare to do anything with. Okay, so, and then the last section that I've not really spoken about is roaming public lobbies, which there's some work for already, but I just don't know that much about this. Slidey did a little bit a while ago. Hopefully someone looks at this again at some point. I just can't say anything about this in much detail. It's to do with Steamworks API specific stuff that I have very little experience of. And then lastly, anticheat. Anticheat is like the last kind of really big thing where... sorry, I should have said right at the start. The thing that's holding us back from doing a full release right now is we know we're going to have to wipe leaderboards. Like runs and ranks are just going to get deleted. We don't want to do a full public release of the game until we've reached that point. And so whatever 1.0 is kind of that's kind of the definition of 1.0, right? That's the kind of standard that we have to reach before we do full release. And so things like rank point system and XP we could kind of leave, though, as long as a rank point system is kind of malleable enough that we can keep working on in the future and doesn't completely screw us over, which right now the current one kind of would, but it's complicated. I won't go into that too much. Learn mode is one thing there that we don't have to get for all of that, but learn mode would be really, really, really nice, because hopefully at 1.0 we get a bit of influx of players and we want to be able to capitalize on that. And these game modes are difficult, and for new people picking up game modes for the first time, like them having like a good introduction is really important to us. Also, learn mode is generally something that we can work on without having engine devs doing that much work. It's more mappers and artists. So after 010, we're planning on really actually putting a lot more focus and organizational kind of energy into learn mode, and trying to really get a lot more moving along. So we do want to get learn mode, but then the main things here are like replay, refactor, and anti-cheat. You can kind of see after 010 are the two big things that we have to get stabilized, or that we have to get in until the game is sufficiently stable that we can actually do 1.0 release. So the original question was when release. I can't give a specific date for that. None of us can. It's just the nature of this. None of us are getting paid for this work. It is really dependent on who's available when, what new people we get, like all of this stuff. Like we can't give a set date. 010 is genuinely pretty close, but there are, like I'm saying, how we're having to do some of this replay stuff now to make 010 stage run submissions even work. Like, it does have the capacity to kind of drag a bit, but when it is dragging, it's dragging because we're having to pull things from future milestones into 010. That's been happening with a lot of stuff that we've been doing in 010. Like, bonus and stage runs, like you can see, weren't initially planned for 010, but they really made sense to do, and it would have been really annoying to not have those be part of 010. But to get that work, we had to pull more stuff from further in front of us. So it does mean that 010 takes longer, but hopefully it's not slowing 1.0 down in a way. Hopefully, like, this is what we'd be doing just straight after 010 anyway. So yeah, we can't give like a specific time frame for any of this, but yeah, hopefully, yeah, like Lodi said, like we are trying to, or I'm trying to give you a explanation of what is going on, what's taking a long time. We really I think you can look at some of the past stuff in Momentum and think maybe some stuff we did wasn't super essential. Some panorama ports maybe could have stayed in VGUI or certain things but there's not a great deal there. And the majority of like the hard work, like O10 is something where like unless someone is actually being really proactive and doing the work like Rio has been doing in the last year, and to I guess somewhat less extent like Panzer and Pinscreeker and Bird and Lumia and people, other sort of people that have been involved in those areas. But Rio's been the main person to do the core like actual O10 full redesign of the zoning system and timer. Like that doesn't happen until we spend a shitload of time like organizing it and speccing it, which we did a lot of about a year ago now, and then you get someone who's really really skilled like Rio who can actually do it. Like honestly, like there's not that many people on the team even that would have been able to do this refactor Rio's done, I think, as well, or it would have taken just longer and been harder to coordinate. So it's this case of like, it's not only that like it's just a lot of work, but like we can make no guarantees as to who's available to do the work when, and sometimes we have quite a limited set of people who even are qualified to do it. Like making games is hard. It's not a case of you just put time in and it comes out eventually. Like you need to put in the kind of more kind of proactive effort into often learning new things that are really complicated and no one really knows very well, and kind of making these like difficult design decisions that like unless someone's really doing it, it's just so. We've been doing pretty well, I'd say, for the last year, and I think we can keep the pace up with how we're going. But yeah, so I guess to sort of finalise this, then I want to just mention how replays and anti-cheat are very heavily related. We're not going to talk too much about RAC, but a big part of it is replays that we get. We validate server side and check that they make sense. So if you do the game and you have 1,000 walking speed or whatever in game, or just silly movement of things, that just very very easily fails anti-cheat. Some of this we have already written. I'd say they're kind of prototypes right now, but we've done it partly just to check the performance of this, to see how efficiently we can do this on a server, but also some of this code is there and we will be able to use it in the future. It's just we do need to change replays, and a big part of changing replays is getting replays to actually have the sufficient data that we can do all of this. And a really big part there that doesn't fit in this chart at all is serializing game state. If you think about it, like if you do a run on a map, halfway through your first run you like shoot a glass window, not that many maps have this, but let's say, and then you reset and then do another run. Like if you then go through that window that's been shot, but you don't shoot it during the second run you're doing, like to the anti-cheat machine you just went through a solid object, right? Or the anti-cheat playing back that replay is like, hey, I just hit a wall, where the fuck are you going, right? So the solution to doing that Rio's come up with, which is awesome and also great for our save state system, is we can serialize the entire game state and serialize it in a kind of like codifying. It's kind of like getting it all into like a big block of data that can then just be stored, and then we can reset to that, and we can do it like incredibly performantly. So whenever you start a run in the future, like the whole map state will just be reset to as if you just reloaded the map. Yeah, we're gonna email your RAM to us and then do it on the server. Yeah. And so that's a very low-level technical engine thing, but something we really realised we did need to get AC to work in this way. It is also great for mappers, like you say, Lodi. So some of that work's been done, like I say. This has been a kind of pet project of Rio's that is, honestly, Rio does a lot of really great work on this project, but this is kind of the coolest thing he's done. Like, it's genuinely, like, just a fantastic use of the source engine. And just really intelligently put together, so I can't wait to get this like actually out to people. And yeah, it's great for save states. If you do have moving platforms on your map or whatever, save states now respect those and they reset the start of things, and like yeah, it's just nice. But that gets us a big way to anti-cheat. Anti-cheat has other difficult things as part of it. It's a lot of DevOps and like server management, right, to get these server machines running, and getting that working with the run submission pipeline is quite hard. That also fits in with another big web thing, which is we do currently do run sessions in a very crap way, and we don't store your kind of current game session besides the map you're doing, the run you're currently doing. In the future we want to be tracking like the map you're playing, for one, it gives us better stats, but also we'll basically be having a live connection between the player and the backend, as opposed to right now, which is literally just HTTP requests, which are kind of stateless. The server doesn't remember anything about a previous HTTP request it's got besides like stuff it put in a database. In the future, we'll be, for one, having a live connection, which we'll probably be using something called WebSockets or some other base TCP protocol. We'll see. And then TCP based, whatever. But the what am I saying? I've been talking for too long. That will give us kind of live session stuff, and it will make the stuff a lot more performant, and it'll be very useful for anticheat. And so some of that stuff will have to get rewritten, but yeah. But this is really like the kind of broad parts of between now and 1.0. There's bound to be some other stuff that comes up, and we've got, you know, just bug fixing and stuff to do between then as a cool thing for game devs to be doing. But like, these really are like the concrete things that we have to work on, and we are working on them concretely. Like, we're not spending time. We do bring on people to do like new game modes and stuff. Like, we brought on GameCare to do new game mode work. Lumia's still working on Defrag, stuff like that. But realistically, I'm not sure even if we had lots more devs, we could utilize them on the core stuff that well, because it's very hard to coordinate this stuff. With 010, it's been an absolute nightmare. A lot of the time, it's best when it is just Rio being able to do the core work there of the core zoning stuff, and that can only go as fast as it can. It's like the way to, which is so unfortunate, like making a game like this, or just with a lot of software development, just having loads and loads of people doesn't necessarily help you that much. It's more important to have a few people that have a lot of time to do it. And so, you know, if we just have and so with a game like this, it's so frustrating that we do just have the limited time frames we do for this stuff, and it does, you know, make the pace of stuff much slower than we'd like. But it's just the reality of it. We can't be getting Rio on a full salary or whatever. And same with loads of other devs. I'm talking about Rio a lot, but say again, sorry?
I said if only.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of, these are quite a lot of quite big things, but they're not absolutely enormous. I'd say the 010 refactors are going to be larger than any of these other system refactors. Maybe not anti-cheat, but we'll see. But yeah, hopefully that's a fairly, sorry if this diagram's been a bit of a mess or whatever, but this hopefully gives a decent kind of overview of what we're currently spending a lot of time thinking about right now, and also makes it clear that these things we're thinking about, because they are the things we need for 1.0, namely they're the things we need to not have to reset the leaderboards again in the future. Yeah, so hopefully that presentation wasn't too boring, but I know that some people do just want to sit and think, you know, sort of armchair admirals, sit there and just say, Momentum's taking too long to come out. Fine. We can't do anything to convince you. If you think that the game's taking ages because we're working on Climb or whatever, I don't know how to convince you. But if you do want to criticize Momentum stuff and or our kind of current pace of stuff, or just comment on it, which is fine, at least, like, I hope this gives you the information necessary for you to, like, actually make a sound criticism, as opposed to it's just Climb taking too long or whatever, right? This is the cool stuff that we're working on, and it does take time, and yeah. If people do, yeah, exactly, Oscar. If people do want to contribute, like I said, some of this web stuff actually is, a lot of this web stuff that is really important for 1.0 is open source, and would be great to get more people on. So just give me a shout if you want to. Okay, I've been talking for way too long, Jesus Christ. Roaming lobbies, yeah, roaming lobbies, I just don't really understand, but they will be fun. Multiplayer stuff, our multiplayer stuff's going to be great. We should maybe have Twitch chat on this thing. I just don't have a good way to put it. I could just put it over here and just leave it there. No, I'm not doing that now. But in fact, maybe I'll do it when I'm doing stuff. But yeah, shall we? Yeah, why not just release Surf and Bhop? Yeah, I was talking about this a bit when I was streaming the other day. Of like, would Momentum be out by now if we were just doing Surf and Bhop? Which I'm not going to answer this now, and I can't answer it because it is an impossible question to give a definitive answer to. The main things to say are, some of these systems are more complex because the scope of the game is increased, and we are trying to do more. Zoning is more complex, we have more edge cases to consider from different game modes, and things like the sub-mode system do make map submission more complicated. And if you just have two modes, just like 66 tick, surf, and then a CSS space, bhop, and surf, basically, right, with a standard tick rate and AirXL, stuff like that, Some of these systems do get more simpler, brilliant. But a lot of this other stuff, the ranking system would apply the same. The changes we need to make there, the replay changes will be the same. What we need to do there for anti-cheat. So I can't give a definitive answer to that, but I can certainly say that like it wouldn't be like a breeze. And the main thing to say is like, if you think momentum is the state of kind of where it was round about 087 was good enough and could have been sort of released, I don't, and that should have been a kind of time that we released. I kind of don't. I think that's a reasonable point of view to have. I don't have that point of view, but I can see why you might be like, well, that would be fine for bhop and surf, and you know the server system shit, and like it wouldn't have anti-cheat, and like map submission wouldn't work very well, and like the ranking stuff wouldn't be very good. The replays would be really jank. You know, like it would have all these things. The UI would be shit. All these things about it that would be bad, but there would be a kind of playable game there. So if you do just feel that it would have been better that that was the kind of playable game release, I can't disagree with that, or I can see that point of view. It's just that doing a lot of the things that we want to do really well, like actually good ranking and map submission that is like open to the community and works well and doesn't leave loads of really buggy maps, and for one, just an anti-cheat that's actually functional. Like for that stuff, you do need to put in the work of doing these kind of refactors and stuff, because like there's no way we kept like with our express space backend, like it just wasn't going to happen. So it would have, doing a lot of stuff would have just been so hard. So yeah. The other final thing is loads of the devs currently putting time into momentum, or that have put lots of time in the past, but came on not because of surf and bhop. And there's a limited number of devs out there, not just because we have a limited number of like engine license, but there's a limited number of people that actually are qualified to do this stuff and want to do it. It's actually quite a small pool of people, I think. Maybe we could do more to recruit, but I think the pool is quite small. So, like, of people here, like Lumia, you wouldn't be involved in Momentum, right? Again, Lumia does quite a lot of game mode stuff, but like you wouldn't be doing Momentum if it's just surf and bhop, right?
Yeah, no, I came into Momentum because of Rocket Jump.
Yeah, Bray from Sticky Jump.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I came because of Sticky Jump. Yeah.
And then of the people currently doing active work, I guess Panzer and Rio are both kind of interested through surf and bhop actually. Peenscreeker came through Defrag. There's other licensees we've got that are kind of doing more game stuff, like GameCare we brought on specifically for Climb. Though hopefully we get some more non-Climb film stuff in the future. But I think it is a valid point that we would have had fewer devs overall if we were just doing surf and bhop.
I think a lot fewer, yeah.
Yeah. And so, again, it's not that we can't... no one can answer the question, would Momentum be out by now if it was just surf and bhop? But
I think there's a variation of Momentum that could have come out by now.
Exactly.
Just surf and bhop.
Good, yeah.
Like, I think it's likely that we probably would have released on the SDK before we ever even moved over to Strata, had there not been other game modes added early on.
Yeah.
But that version of Momentum would be like a shadow of what Momentum is now. So, like, ask yourself, like, would you want the surf and bhop only version of Momentum? Because Momentum now is going to be a lot better, including for surf and bhop, than it would have been back then. And if you look at a lot of the changes we're doing for O10, a lot of the zone changes are specifically made to better handle like CS maps in surf and bhop.
Yeah. Not a cult.
Yes, not a cult. Yeah. I don't think we're a cult.
I don't know why you have that emote, but that's a really, really good emote.
But yeah, no, the game is going to be better for everyone as a result of what we've done with it. And most of the delay has not been game mode related. It does complicate things, but most of the delay is actually stuff like redoing the entire UI from scratch in Panorama and porting the whole game over to a different source engine branch and getting portals to work.
Well, portals weren't long, but yeah. Yeah, Pano was a shitload of work. And Pano is something where we could have kept just the VGUI based stuff. It would have been a lot worse. Again, people can make the argument that just keeping the VGUI based stuff would have been sufficient and they'd have been happy with that for a game. Again, it is just UI. That's not the most important part of the game. It limits what we can do with other stuff a lot in the future, and I think even now we have a lot of stuff done in Pano that's just way, way better than it was in the VGUI version. But it did take a lot of time. So, yeah, I still do think that even if you think that like we shouldn't have done any of that, like it's not that clear that Momentum would have been out that much sooner. Pano definitely did take quite a lot of time, and I think you could make an argument that we just shouldn't have done Pano, though I disagree with that. But other stuff like, you know, getting anticheat to work and stuff, like, it's not at all clear to me that you can't say, if you want to say Momentum should have just been surf and bhop in this kind of super low quality form it was in 087, you also don't get functioning anti-cheat, I don't think. Or you get an anti-cheat that's very easy to bypass. We're not saying that our anti-cheat is going to be watertight, however, we have a lot of tricks, and we have core systems that work well, and then big bags of tricks, which is what you want with good AC, in my opinion. I think we have a question that we'll talk about that if we talk. We don't want to talk too much about AC, right? Because it is, you know, the more obscure you are, the better. But yeah,
maybe in 10 years we can do a post-mortem how our anti-cheat works.
Yeah, but things like getting anti-cheat in the DevOps side of it or whatever, like trying to do the anti-cheat system with our old backend, like, wouldn't have worked. We would have had to have rewritten a big chunk of the backend anyway, just for that. Like, I think any future kind of way that Momentum could have gone, we would have had to rewrite the backend, and that's just several years of work. Like, not years doing the whole backend, but like, there's a lot of time. And anyway, I'm trying to give a very sort of nuanced take here, and I'm probably just being boring. But yeah. Okay, shall we move on to actually playing the game and doing some other questions?
I agree.
Okay. Do you want to read, Lumia?
Yeah, sure. So, Skin asks, how would the tricksurf learn section correlate to the mode? There's a variety of different tricks. Will the learning feature resurfing and a lot of other tech? I can kind of answer. Tricksurf is not really going to be a mode by 1.0. I think right now it's still a mode. I don't know if we have any of the trick stuff still implemented or if it's been ripped out. But what we're going to eventually do is have the trick version of things be like variations of the base mode.
Yeah.
And that's going to be sometime after 1.0. So I don't think we can really say how the learn mode, or even if we'll have a learn mode. It sounds like it'd be useful for it.
I don't know what resurfing is, but...
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's going to be stuff in tricksurf that's not in normal surf, but
yeah, I
don't think we have any plans for that.
Yeah. Yeah, tricksurf
like,
is... Sorry, you go.
Yeah, like Shigetsu is saying in chat, like, do we need a learn section for tricksurf? It seems like no on the surface, because it's just like surf, but different, right? But it sounds like there might be some special tech that, like, you never see in normal surf maps, but you use a lot. I don't know if tricksurf typically has different settings from surf, or if that's what we were going to do, like, you know, skill surf. So yeah, I mean, it might be worth having its own learn section, or just like maybe an add-on or something. But I don't know if we can say exactly what we're going to do, because that's going to be a pretty long way out. Yeah, like air accelerate is higher and stuff like that. I don't know what our settings were going to be for tricksurf, but yeah, it's going to be. But it's going to be so far in the future. I don't think we can say at this point.
Really, it is, and like tricksurf is like, it's just not okay. We've not even fully decided if we do a tricks version of every mode. That seems like it could probably be a thing, but maybe some stuff just isn't very good. Like, I don't know, A-hop. I love the idea of tricksurf as like a good kind of community place. Like, if you're in a big lobby with people, like just playing on Skyward or whatever, it's just a good way to kind of hang out. Bray, I'm gonna scream. Tricks. But yeah, it's like tricks. I think doing the trick mode, not tricks as in the multiplayer throw grenades thing. I won't talk about the guy who said you can have 0 ping because we break the speed of light. Trick surf, trick rocket jump, whatever. Like, we've thought about it a little bit when it comes to the O10 zoning stuff and how it might work. But generally, whilst we think about it a little bit, zero ping tricks can't exist unless you're on LAN. Like, you need to be close. The zoning stuff might kind of work, but like we tend to think about it a little bit and then realize, okay, we need to sit down and fully plan out the tricks modes of like tricks. Again, not tricks modes, whatever. We have to just,
it needs to be its own thing. Really.
Yeah, and so I've been a real strong advocate of saying we shouldn't do that before 1.0, and I think we've basically said that. And it's like, it's so easy to underestimate how much work that stuff's going to be. So yeah, well, we do really want to do it. I mean, the tricks modes could be so good in Momentum. I mean, tricksurf is just great already. Like, I love tricksurf. I don't play it much, but like, you know, I first got into surf playing like combat surf maps, like Surf Great River Extreme, and like someone showing me like in a like empty server like how to do like a G400 or whatever it was, where you go around the like outer bit with the big trigger pushes and then you go backwards up the ramp, whatever, all the stuff you do. Like the I love that stuff, and it's also just really fun, and there's so much content there. Just content's a cynical word, but you know, like the it's great. It's not something to do before 1.0, right? And it is something that needs a lot of organization and thought. So yeah. I think in the past we've been more willing to be like, oh yeah, this is a fun system to do, and I can sort of think how we'd implement it. I'm going to just get on the start on it. But then you realise, like, doing it in the whole game in terms of the backend and the UI, and like, it's not necessarily that difficult. Actually, it might be surprisingly easy, even though I just said that it tends to be harder than you think. But it's still enough that it's like, no, we should not be doing this for 1.0, or even given that much. Like, designing stuff takes a bunch of time. I find it's one of the most like mentally challenging things. I can sit down and do like just programming stuff for, you know, 6, 8, 10 hours a day quite comfortably a lot of the time, but like sitting and doing like a design spec for like a bunch of systems that have like game components, web components, all this stuff, and like designing that, like I get tired of that in like a matter of hours. Like, it's really hard work, and doing that for like the trick stuff is going to just take a lot of that, and I'm terrified of that. We'll do it, but yeah, it's just big difficult thing in the future. So yeah, sorry, let's talk more just talking about general tricksurf stuff and not the real like learn thing. But yeah, like someone said in chat, like it's kind of a lot of that just like Momentum should step it up and add combat in the future. Thanks, Banny.
I think if Banny knew our development situation, I'm sure he'd understand why we can't do that.
Yeah.
Although, you know, I would encourage anyone who has like ideas like this, like if you want to see a surf and b-hop game, or if you want to see a tricks game, or if you want to see like a combat movement game, go take the 087 code and build something off of it, because it's still out there. You can make stuff.
Yeah.
You know, or just make your own source mod. Like, I would love to, like, and I'm not being like sarcastic. I would genuinely love to see people do more stuff like that. You know, C++ is not hard. It's easy. Even I can do it.
C++ is not hard. I generally think that people overstate the complexity of programming languages, but C++ is a hard language. Really.
But it would be really cool, given that Momentum can't do these things. It would be cool to see other people say, okay, well, if Momentum's not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, that would be awesome. I would love to see people, like, do that. Obviously, making the game is a big commitment, but,
yeah,
like, I'd love to see people...
The issue is you have to work with source. That's the main thing.
Yeah, but at least, like, SDK is kind of a known thing. It sucks, but, like, it works, so...
Yeah, I would...
Pro tip, don't use source in 2024.
Yeah, I would recommend any game developer do everything they can to avoid source, even like try to replicate.
I mean, there's cool
certain
stuff. I know Project Borealis released like open source, like their Half-Life movement in Unreal, so you could probably do something in Unreal that would work very well. But...
Yeah, I'm gonna go out and be like, not just am I gonna say Source is a bad engine to work with, but if you're making a game in an engine in Source and it doesn't need to be in Source, I think a lot less of your game. That's how strongly I feel about it. Like, don't make a modern game in Source. Don't. Like, it's a terrible engine. Valve aren't going to license you. It's not a terrible engine, but you don't have license, like, to the full engine. It's not being maintained. There's loads of junk.
idTech 3. Go make something on idTech 3. It's free. It's open source. Use idTech 3.
We're in this position of, like, between Godot and Unreal and other stuff, and the 7,000 Rust-based ECS system, like, there's a lot of other stuff out there.
I think the source-based movement stuff open source for Godot as well.
Okay, yeah. But you just get...
You can use transform with it pretty easily, so...
Yeah, people have made, like, Quake-like
you can make a Quake-like
for, like,
very
anything.
easily in Godot.
Yeah.
It's nice.
We'll just spend 5 minutes just beating up on the source engine.
Yeah,
it's not even related to the question, but it's just we all do it so easily. Like,
I think it only makes sense for momentum.
Yeah. But it's just, it is. I know this is like really harsh, but I do think like whenever you see games that are being done on source that don't need to be, just because the people making it really like source, like I'm very doubtful that game's ever going to release. I say that as someone making a game on source that still hasn't released, but like, yeah.
I think there's a very small handful of things that Source still does well, but outside of that, Source.
Yeah, but it's not just the engine itself, but just the situation surrounding the engine. Like, it's Valve. You have to interact with Valve. Valve don't want to interact with you, and you don't want to interact with Valve. Like, I mean, not the
licensing situation is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do we want to move on to the next question?
No, I'm going to keep talking about bad sources. No.
Okay, all right.
Where are we? Okay.
I think even Valve would agree that Source isn't great. They have Source 2 now.
Yeah, but also I think one of the reasons that Valve probably don't care about licensing people that much or maintaining source stuff is that the people doing that source stuff aren't necessarily particularly good devs because they're using Source 1 when they could be using other stuff. Or, not that they're bad devs, but they're not making good development decisions, and that's likely to affect other parts of their game as well.
Yeah,
that's a spicy take, but I really think that. I expect Valve have realised that.
Alright, so the next question is from Uni. Will we be able to port old Half-Life 1 and Half-Life AG mod maps into Momentum mod in 0.10 or sometime in the future? You already can. I don't know if anyone's ported anything from Half-Life specifically, and it's a very painful and unpleasant process, but we do have a lot of maps that have been ported from Team Fortress Classic, so it's not impossible. Game Chaos has a tool that he's working on that should help auto-convert stuff, similar to BSP convert for Quake 3, but it's a much more difficult problem to solve with gold source maps because the format is more different. And for reference, AG in Half-Life is, I think, Adrenaline Gaming or Adrenaline Gamer. It's a client-side. I think it's only client-side. I'm not sure if there's a server-side component, but it's a mod that just sort of changes the gameplay, adds like auto-hop and stuff like that.
What mode should we play? Let's actually play the game a bit, or watch something else. Play some B-Hop.
So yeah, we are planning on having. So we've already got CS 1.6 climb being implemented. I think I'm not sure how complete it is, but it's mostly complete. Half-Life B-Hop is still on the table, and now that we've got the sort of 1.6 like movement, we also have Half-Life movement underneath that. So Half-Life B-Hop is not very far away. So yeah, definitely we're going to have, I'm sure, some like classic Half-Life B-Hop and AG maps getting ported. It's not a fun process. It's not easy. So hopefully we can get some tools that make it easier. But I think it's always going to be a bit tedious when dealing with gold source.
I apologize. I wasn't on the right game capture there. I'm playing Conk Speed. We got a play Conk request. I'm just doing Speed because I can't be bothered playing anything else. So I would talk to GameCurse before porting more stuff because to see how far along that is.
Yeah, and that project that he was working on is open source as well. So I don't know if Game Chaos is still working on it actively or if he's open to pull requests or anything like that. But yeah, Game Chaos, definitely talk to them if you're interested. It's not a decompiling tool, it's sort of an automatic porting tool. Yeah. And it might be possible for us to do other stuff in the future. Because one of the main limitations of trying to convert gold source maps is trying to convert it to the source engine map format, but we actually have the ability to do vPhysics-based collisions now. and that sort of opens up an entire new set of possibilities for porting maps from Gold Source. So, yeah, because the main problem is that Gold Source maps only store like a very limited set of collision data that can only be used in a very limited kind of way. And you can't reconstruct the original brushes or the original collision data from that easily. But it might be possible to construct a more sort of general collision mesh from it and use that instead. I don't really know. It might still run into some problems because you still are missing information. Like, there's no way to distinguish like a clip brush from a normal brush in Gold Source maps other than they exist in one set of collision data and not in another one. But there might still be problems, but I think it's worth exploring. Question in the chat: if there's 1.6 climb, does that mean 1.6 surf too? I don't think so. I think you're the first person I've ever heard ask about 1.6
Yeah,
surf.
I don't even know how 1.6 surf works.
Yeah, I think we're going pretty much focusing on CSS-based surf with some minor improvements and changes, but I think CSS is very much the baseline for us.
It's something where like we could do, potentially, but probably won't. Doing a new game mode, whilst we are saying we're doing those 3 for climb, like that does make sense in the context of like what climb modes people do play, and so the game mode system does allow people to does allow us to have more game mode variants, but there'd need to be a lot of people that really wanted 1.6 surf if we were for us to do it.
I think some people might have missed that because there was an ad. Basically, our surf is based on CSS, more or less. I haven't heard a whole lot about 1.6 surf, but yeah, not impossible. We have the movement for it. It's just a matter of like, do we want to add another like variation of surf? Which
game mode mixing might be a thing in like 2024. Sorry, not 2024. 2040. 2020.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on how well we can actually get game mode mixing to work properly. Maybe we kind of have some stuff that would make it easier, but it would be a lot of work, and I don't see that happening before 1.0. That would be kind of a own sort of small project in itself.
Yeah.
It would be really cool to have dynamic game mode switching. That would be interesting. We can't switch game modes on the fly right now because of tick rate, basically. That's the main thing. But that's an engine limitation, and we have engine code.
Yeah, but
and it's not like theoretically possible. That would be cool to do.
It's not theoretically impossible, but it's a bastard to do, right?
Yeah, probably.
But also, like, I don't know how that fits current leaderboards, and it's not really what Momentum is. Like, I do want to emphasize that, like, we're not trying to make a sandbox game where you can do, like, any weird thing just because it sounds fun. Like, we do want to have competitive leaderboards, and I don't know how that could ever work very well competitively. I guess we could in theory, but, like, yeah, it would, Okay, yeah, there's some sort of stuff you could do. Yeah.
One thing that we will have is very customizable defrag. That's part of my work to separate CP and VQ3 apart. Is all the stuff that's typically controlled by a single C-var that just switches the physics. All of that stuff has like its own C-vars now, so you could do a bit of mixing with cheats enabled, but those won't be like official modes or anything like
that. Let's move on after I finish this stage. Fuck.
Okay.
Wait. Sorry. I'm sorry the stream setup's so jank. We don't have very many questions, by the way. I don't know if we've been collecting any other ones. If people have more questions, dump them in Q&A Live. There are a few more in there, actually. In fact, if someone wants to add those to the Google Doc, you can. Because it's not like Nick, where it's all pre-rendered somehow. Like, it's just, it's live. So...
Yeah. Alright, so next question. Feedbacker asks, will we be getting a kernel level rootkit anti-cheat?
No.
Yes. No, we're not going to be doing anything crazy like that. I think so far what we've said is we don't really want to try doing client-side anti-cheat.
No,
I've suggested maybe we should look into it, but we're not going to do like Valorant level stuff.
Yeah.
We're not
well, yeah. With AC stuff, like, we're not going to talk that much about anti-cheat stuff. We can still do some client stuff, but we're not gonna be some whole thing that has like a big name like VAC, and like also, you know, it's like I do wonder like if there'd ever be a case for Momentum having some of the like existing anti-cheat systems or whatever, but like they're so unpleasant. Even the stuff that are just like scanning processes are just like, we can avoid that. That's really nice.
I think it might be good to have some basic client-side stuff. Like, to be clear, our anti-cheat is not going to be mainly client-side. Mainly it's going to be on our end on a server. I think it would be good to have some basic client-side stuff, though, just to catch the really lazy script kiddies. Like, if you can just catch someone who's trying to, you know, inject DLLs or something, like, why not?
Okay, yeah.
If we can do something that's like off the shelf like that, like, why not? But that's not going to be the main method of anti-cheat, so we're not going to go all in on it and do some super sophisticated thing. And like, if it's really difficult to do, or like, we're not going to design our own client-side anti-cheat from scratch. Like, we would pull something off the shelf or something, you know, some pre-made thing. But I think it might be worth looking into later on.
We're not saying that we're not doing certain stuff on the client. It's just, and to some extent, some of the stuff that we might do on the client are kind of specific tricks that we shouldn't talk about the details of. So, like, we still expect you to have a non-modified client, right? And it's not like we're going to be like, oh yeah, well this pass server side like validation, but like we have other reasons for thinking you're cheating, so we're not going to ban you or something. No, like it's totally up to us what kind of methods we use, and we'll have specific things about not modifying your client. And just because we don't tell you that there's like VAC running or whatever, if there's something that's like scanning your process, I expect we would be like, or maybe, I don't know. But the things we have in place to try to figure out if something is injected into the game, or if the game's just set up in some strange way or modified in some strange way, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the stuff that's like most promising, like, we shouldn't talk about details of at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely not. I just think it might be worthwhile if there's some pre-made solution that we can just slap it.
I'm not sure how much
CMake and then it works.
Yeah,
you know? That might be worth doing, but beyond that, no, we're not going to have like crazy stuff.
The issue was all like client-side anti-cheat solutions that, like, most of them are like commercial and will require a payment or something.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not sure if we will ever need these really sophisticated like checks on the client side, since again, like, verifying runs on the server side will be like our main like stuff to protect the runs from being cheated. So I don't think we'll use anything like that really powerful, I guess, for anti-cheat on client.
The commercial stuff is true. A big part of like the fact like anti-cheats, especially anti-cheats like that, work when you don't see the source code, and so trying to do a good open source anti-cheat sounds like it would be kind of a bit self-defeating. But that's not true, Gordy. Like, we're not saying that we're not going to do that, and like I mean, we're not saying like it's really a kind of case of wait and see. Some of the stuff, if we do it on the client, might just be very custom stuff that's not any kind of like separate kind of anti-cheat process. But also,
you cut out there, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? Okay. What did I say?
Like that entire sentence you said. Like,
okay.
When you started talking.
So we're not guaranteeing that we're not gonna have some client side stuff, and I don't know if you got the stuff I said about like how open source anti-cheats don't really make sense as an anti-cheat, right? Like it's, you know, if there are ways we can do it where we could get a client side thing that is reliable, but we're not paying lots of money, like you say, there's not a reason that we should be committing to not doing that, and we're definitely not ruling anything out now.
You're kind of cutting out a bit, Tom. I don't know what's going on. At least for me. Is anybody else?
Is my mic bad on stream?
Yes.
Yeah, you're
on stream, I guess it's fine.
Okay. Let's just try moving Discord channel and just get a new server. One sec.
Okay.
Okay. That might be better.
Okay.
We're in a different team channel. We got a different server. Am I better now?
Join sound.
Well, the join sound, Traz's join sound, like the other night he like disconnected, and so I like heard him like that like okay noise, and then Traz like, wait, what happened? It's just like you can tell that Traz's Discord just crashed. Like,
yeah, I was tabbed out, so I didn't know it crashed. It just happened.
Right. But yeah, I think AC stuff like we don't want to talk about AC stuff that much more. I don't think anyway. Right. Like, we're not. I don't think we'd ever want to do something super intrusive. Though I kind of sympathize with like the really intrusive stuff in a way. I just think, yeah, AC is kind of just a nightmare in every way, and it's also just depressing. Because no one wants to work on AC, and fight with like kids making cheats or like adults making cheats. That's kind of worse. Okay, let's move on. Next question.
Okay, so Uberosh asks, will there be separate leaderboards with task results for each discipline? I assume you mean mode. Yeah, I think we're still planning on doing task leaderboards. Not sure if that's something that'll be post 1.0 as well, because that kind of depends on having task tools. I don't see us getting to that before 1.0, but that is something we'd like to do, yeah.
Yeah, task is one of those things as well. Yeah, we'd like to do, but why the hell would you ever slow down 1.0 for it? That's it. I don't think it's even anything.
We're not going to hold up release for tasks.
Yeah. I think we've always been saying that. If someone else could be adding these to the slides, by the way, some of the questions we've got asked that in Q&A live and then voice stream, that'd be good. Because if I do it, then it shows up on stream. Cheers. In fact, we've run out of questions already. Yeah, we really don't have a lot. I don't know how long we're going to go on for.
Where's the link to the slides?
Oh, I don't think I even made a shareable link. I'm sorry. Let me just do. Oh, I just resized the Twitch chat. It's on this monitor. Share. Anyone with the link. We do this so often. Just. Anyone with the link can edit. There you go. Voice team. There you go. I'll just add this one right now, the one that was just asked, but I'll do it so it makes Soup's life easier. Oh, did I just break this thing? Did I just show the link on stream? I might have. No, I don't think I wouldn't have. Yeah.
No, you had the game mode.
Yeah, but in like the bottom bit. But yeah, it wouldn't have showed up there. Oh my god. How accurate is this going to be? I'm just going to do this bit and cut the rest outside. There's. You want to read that one, Lumia, and then add the rest?
Yeah. So, LilahNyan asks, how accurate is the 1.6 climb stuff aiming to be? They also mentioned ground strafing, double ducking, count jumps, etc. As far as I know, the goal is to be very, very close. I don't think we have CS 1.6 code, but Game Chaos is very familiar with the mechanics, and it's based on Half-Life code, which is publicly available. As far as I know, the aim is to be very close.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really understand the 1.6 stuff. But I guess we don't have that much to talk about here. I mean, we go for as consistent as we can. It is a different engine. But I lose track. Is the 1.6 movement code out, available? I think someone said it was like lost, but that's not true, is it? I don't know. We'll see.
It's not publicly available as part of an SDK. I'm sure Valve still has it.
Yeah, I swear someone was saying something about like it just like got lost.
That's what a lot of people have said.
Oh right, for God's sake.
That's what a lot of people have said about gold source code. I don't think it's true though.
Okay, Lumia, can you keep doing the Q&A live questions and I'll
yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah. Who cares? Yeah, that question I'm not going to answer because I don't care. No, I'm kidding. You'd have to ask Game Chaos. I don't think Game Chaos would be doing it if it was crap, but I know so little about 1.6 stuff. And we'll have it out relatively soon. So. Next question. I'm going to move on. What's the Uberosh?
Is this Uberosh's question?
Yeah, you can read it, and I'll...
So Uberosh asks, with 0.11 and Replay Refactor, is it possible to introduce a tool which can convert demo file coordinates of Quake III Defrag to momentum mod? We are not going to do that, but you very certainly could. All the formats for both of those, none of them are secret.
No.
I assume that we could...
well, our replay format will change soon anyway. So...
Huh?
Our replay format will change soon anyway, so if you want to go demo to replay, like, those will be broken pretty soon. We have no interest in those in momentum. Like, those will never be on the, like, momentum leaderboards. For no mode are we ever going to transfer times from another game's, like, leaderboards. It's just not feasible. Like, the physics are going to be slightly different all the time. They're, like... There's all, like... Yeah. Okay, I'm done with Kong. I give up.
Yeah, it's something that... in theory, someone could do, but we're not going to do it. Hopefully, we actually document our replay format, and like someone could write a tool for it. But I kind of doubt anyone will, and we're not going to. And there very well may be technical issues that cause that to not be feasible. I don't know if, like, I don't think Quake 3 demos actually record like the players' inputs. They're just a recording of the messages that the server sends back to the client. So our replays actually record inputs and stuff like that. I think you'd have issues trying to convert demos to replays. I don't think that would go very well.
Oh no. This is...
What are you yapping about, Tom?
I'm in Mirror World.
Oh.
Will someone redeem it again so I can go back? Yeah, let's move on. We really don't...
I've got all the rest of the questions in there now.
Okay. Oh wait, I have to move. Wait, no, you don't. You can do it. No, you can't. What am I talking about?
I can
have
read
to change
them. You have to prove it.
Well, we got everything. Yeah, we got. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So next question, Squirrel asks, what's the long-term financial situation for the project for running costs for web hosting and backend server costs? Gocnak remaining employed.
No. Sorry, no. It isn't. This is me disagreeing with Nick again. But, like, open collective stuff can go to server costs, like, or at least some of it will, like, in theory. And we have agreed on that. Like, Nick has said that he will, like, front quite a lot of money for stuff in the past, and does currently do so. But, like, the financial, you know, setup shouldn't be something of a single person being relied on, right? It's and open collective stuff is something we can use, and I think we're being very careful with our, like, infrastructure. We're not doing, like, really stupid slow stuff, like, so it's going to be quite performant. So server costs aren't that bad. AC is a bit spooky, right? Because AC has to, like, verify runs and run source really fast, but, like, you can do that surprisingly fast when you're not rendering anything. Like, you could just, if you just, like, unhook source and just let it process, like, ticks as fast as it can, we've got it doing, like, tens of thousands per second before on, like, a single core. So it can go fast. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure that's true that it was on a single core, but, like, you can get it speedy.
It would have to be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, all the game code and, like, movement simulation stuff like that is single.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I should probably know that. But yeah, okay, so that means, you know, if you're doing that and then you're running a bunch of instances of that and fancy things, yeah, there's a lot of capacity there for, like, not spending lots of money. And we're not using, like, AWS or stupid stuff like that. We may do, like, some kind of cloudy stuff, but no, I think with our... I won't say too much about our current hosting stuff, but, like, we're doing it in a way that, like, is convenient for deploy, but not, like, super cloud nonsense. Because that shit is so expensive, and, like, you know, being, like, having, like super elastic scaling, like, no. We'll if we have to buy more servers, we'll buy more servers. Or similar to that. So, yeah, that's kind of it. So now, web hosting, like hosting a website, you can host a website for free nowadays. Like, all of our stuff is Cloudflare pages, and basically no cost for anything, as far as I know. The backend is, like, the spicy thing. The backend is several different things. It's a big database that ideally you have a lot of worker threads for and quite a lot of disk, and a good quality disk, and quite a lot of RAM, and blah blah blah. But yeah,
I don't anticipate money really being that much of an issue, because on top of like donations and stuff, Gocnak is, I'm sure, not the only one who would be willing to like fund it all. I would, for one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not hurting for money, and I'm sure that both within the Momentum team and without, we could also find people who would be willing to do more than, donate $5 or whatever. So yeah, I don't think money is going to be a huge issue.
We don't make much money as programmers, so it's tough.
Yeah, programmers, low income job and all that. Actually, in some parts of the world, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the next question?
Yes. Okay. And I'm done with Mirror World. I've done enough of this. It's done my head in. I think we have only 2 left. Okay. Oh, we have a few more. We have one more from 07 Moon. Have you added that? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry. I should start second guessing you. Also, let's play something else. What should I? Someone play a map that's interesting, and I'll watch you. Go pick a hard surf map. Someone play that. Or I'll just watch a replay of, I don't know, Utopia. Why not? Not Utopia. Omnific. That one. Sorry, Squirrel. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Our next question from Squirrel is: are the plans for the database update challenges for the points and ranking system documented anywhere?
No. We will have a full spec for that at some point after 010. Let's just watch Omnific mirrored. That'll be fun. We'll have that at some point. We haven't done a full spec for that. We'll be doing a lot of discussion of that internally, where anyone that's active with web dev stuff is welcome to come along to that. Well, yeah, we can be pretty open with that. But the what am I saying? Right now that system is not fully spec'd out. We have it's very much like a kind of sketch of how we're going to do that whole system. There's another system that I have a kind of a slightly more precise sketch in my head, which is a WebSocket based version of run sessions and also map sessions. That I'll probably get written quite a lot sooner, though I need to really read up on that stuff quite a lot more first. And this is the kind of thing that I absolutely love working with Nick and also Rio on, because they're both experienced with that stuff as well. And we not that other team members aren't fun to work on with that stuff as well, but we're quite used to working together on that stuff. And I'm sure we'll get maybe Gordy and other people as well. We'll sit down and design a lot of this stuff. The main thing in terms of big tech specs for our current stuff, you can find a lot of the map submission stuff and all that on our GitHub. There's a big project board there. The post 010 stuff, none of that's written down in great detail. We spent a lot more effort in the last year or so, really doing tech specs well, and actually getting stuff written out in precise details. It's just that in this case, we just haven't done that yet. So, yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah. So the next question is from Firm Tomato, who asks, "What level of contribution earns a Steam key?" There's no set level. It's not a checklist you have to fill out. We just, if you do something that we feel is helpful enough. I don't know.
I don't mean to sound
exact set of criteria.
Yeah, I don't want to sound harsh here, but the way I'd say it would be, if you're asking that question, you're probably not asking it for the right reasons, or if you're contributing just for the sake of getting a key, with a project like Momentum, there's not that much you can do that's actually a useful contribution. That we want contribution from people who want to get the game out sooner, and if it is just about getting a key, if people are working on stuff and clearly interested in the project, I give out keys so easily, I'm so casual with it. But that's because it's often easy to tell who's actually keen on stuff and who's reaching out because they actually want to contribute and help out on the project versus who just wants a key. And I get that all the time with web people or whatever, or Pano people. If someone's actually interested in working on a Pano thing and they don't have the game, I'm obviously just going to give them a key straight away. I'm not going to make them do some other work first before I give them a key. I'll just give them one. And if they never show up again, who cares? But But the main reason for that is you can kind of just tell, like, who kind of knows, like, who is actually interested in it and who's not, just wants a key. So, not that I'm saying that you are just asking that because you want a key, but, you know. And I'm not saying you'll regret saying that. I'm not less likely to give you a key, or anyone else is going to be less likely to give you a key because you've said that. But, like, I hope you get what I mean by, like, we're not looking for contributors that want to do a one-off contribution just because they can get a key, because typically those contributions just aren't very helpful.
Yeah, it kind of feels like most people who ask that are looking for, like, what's the minimum amount of effort I have to put into the game? And if that's your mindset, then no, it's not work. Sorry.
Yeah. Type of fixing docs. Like, if you want to do doc stuff, that's genuinely super useful, and there are things on the docs you can do. The one thing with docs is sometimes we've been like, oh yeah, help us write this, like, game mode guide or whatever, or, like, summarize this entire game mode. And every time that's happened, like, we've got some improvements from people, but, like, it's never, like, a whole, like, big coherent thing, because that's really hard to do, and, like, I think that's quite a bad thing that we ask people to do. Like, those game mode guides, I think, probably need to be either someone new who comes on that's, like, actually really, really into it, but also is, like, discussing it with us, or it would be done internally by the team, where we sit down in a Discord call and have a shared Google Doc and go through it. We'll be doing that. We've been doing that a bit with some of the new website, and we'll do it more in the future with, like, map porting guidelines and game UI with game mode info section in the game UI. Like, the doc stuff, like, I'm not saying that those people that have done those docs contributions were doing it because they wanted a key, but sometimes they're just, those contributions aren't super helpful because, like, if you want to work on momentum, the best thing to do is to talk to us on Discord about what you want to work on, and, like, we'll be very happy to talk to you about stuff and find things to work on, as opposed, like, if you just pick up a random thing on the docs and, like, work on it a little bit, if you're just doing that for key, for one, like, it's like, yeah, but in general, like, that kind of process isn't usually that helpful for us, I'd say. Like, it's really good to just try to be communicative. It's the main thing if you do want to contribute, not to, you know. Also, yeah, like Shake said, like, people that are just friendly in Discord will give keys sometimes. You can kind of tell if someone's fishing for a key or if they're just, like, chill and, like. Not that we do that, like, consistently. So there's not saying that, like, you're guaranteed to get one if you do, because we don't, like, think about that constantly. But I don't know what to play. I don't know what we should play. Yeah, the run was the same. Like, nothing changed there. Shall we move on?
I think we have one last question from 07 Moon, who asks, maybe that's I don't know.
Yeah.
Is momentum focused exclusively on source and Quake related modes, or is there a possibility of non-source related game modes post 1.0? I doubt it, just because it's not impossible to do that, but for one thing, we would need to know a lot about the implementation of it. I mean, even parkour, which is technically on the source engine, is going to be extremely difficult to do if we care at all about, like, accuracy. And maybe not extremely difficult, but, like, we're not going to be able to copy it one-to-one because we don't have the source code for that, and it's on the source engine. Trying to do movement from other games without the source code and doing it on a different engine would be really difficult, and I don't see us putting effort into that as opposed to doing other post 1.0 things that would be more useful to the game. Like, it's just probably we're not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just hate, like, it would be fun. It's just having, like, a million modes sounds like a kind of clutter as well.
Yeah, we already have kind of a million modes.
Yeah. And it's just, like, I kind of like the idea of game mode mixing and stuff more as, like, a very distant future thing of, like, if we were to, like, allow kind of more sandbox kind of stuff. Because, like, loads of modes are just fun. Like, just random settings. Like, why is A-hop good? But it is. Like, clearly, like, you can just put, like, a lot of weird combinations of movement stuff together on, like, a really good engine. And if you make, like, decent maps, like, that mode's probably quite fun. Like, there's a million, like, modes that don't exist out there. Or, like, well, probably uncountably infinite number, I guess, if you can add any sub-variation. But anyway, like, there's loads of modes that kind of could exist. And so I like the idea that we could try to support people, like, doing kind of custom settings and stuff and, like, mixing stuff and weird things there. But, like, that's just a really far off thing. So trimping, I don't think we want to do trimping. I spoke to the guy that I was playing TF2 the other day, and Solar Light, the demo guy, right? He was in a server. I think someone asked me about Momentum stuff on one of the Uncletopia servers, and I asked, like, are there actually maps of this? And I think he said, like, oh, there's like one and I'm making my own one or something like that. I was like, well, okay. It didn't, like, really, you know, fill me with confidence in Trimp.
Yeah, there's almost nothing for it. It's pretty much restricted entirely to, like, people doing rollouts and stuff. I think part of it is because it's harder to use map logic, although with VScript now maybe not, but it's I think it's harder to use map logic to kind of, like, make trimping less bad, and so people don't make trimp maps as much. I'm not really sure. I'm skeptical that if we added trimping to Momentum that we would start getting people making maps for it. We might have to, like, really change it a lot. I think one thing we could do, and this would also be kind of a post 1.0 thing, is just turn on VScript and let people script their own movement stuff.
Do we have that?
And then VScript, yeah, we have it. We just don't turn it on.
Oh. Bray, jump! I joined to watch you, and you just.
Because then that way, if it's something that people from the outside can do, and if we expose the movement code in a way where you don't have to rewrite everything from scratch, you can reuse most of it. It's very feasible that someone externally could just implement it. People could play with it, and if it becomes popular enough, then we could add it to the game.
Yeah.
But investing in all of that up front with the expectation that, okay, hopefully people will play this and make maps for it, just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing with movement from other games, is, like, some games have really good movement, but they don't have the same kind of, like, speedrunning culture because those games don't have level editors. Like, you can't make custom stuff, and so it's all sort of like traditional single-player campaign speedrunning type stuff. The Source Engine and Quake Engine stuff is just unique because people make custom levels specifically, like, for skill and speedrunning. So games that don't already have that as kind of a culture, it would be, I think, a hard sell to try and bring movement from games like that into Momentum as well, because, like, just because we have it doesn't mean people will come and start making maps for it.
Yeah.
The other thing that you have to look at with other games is, like, is there a point in bringing it into Momentum? It's like, it would be cool. Part of the reason Momentum exists is because the Source Engine sucks. Other games don't necessarily have, like, those problems that Momentum solves.
Well, I know. I imagine Source is pretty good, actually, for a lot of the custom stuff, I'd say, and, like, you know, Source mod and stuff can do a lot. But yeah, I'm leaving Winter World on. It's fun. Someone has to redeem it to get it back. To get it back to normal. Okay, we're actually getting, like, lots more questions. We could keep going with these questions. There's one that I don't think we added to the doc.
I can add them.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, there's one. We seem to get a lot from first-time chatters. So if there's a message that's long and from a first-time chat, it's a question.
I added this.
Nice one. Yeah, do you want to do the next one? No, Lumi can read, I guess, but.
Yeah, I can keep reading if that's okay. So Fluxified asked, will maps get the KSF treatment, where they're modified to remove RNG moving platforms and such, or will maps be left as the mapper intended? Yes and no.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's something like, are there that many of those? There's, like, Funhouse and stuff. Like we were saying before, there's with the new save state and, like, save restore system, like, those would, like, get reset consistently and stuff, and you could, you know, I kind of like the idea of having those or allowing those. Yeah, and I agree. Like, if it is, like, if the mapper made that and the spooky spinny things, like, why should the server or the porter or whatever be deciding that? Why shouldn't it be the mapper? But especially, yeah, with save restore stuff coming eventually or before 1.0, because you need it for anti-cheat, the, like, it seems quite reasonable to allow.
I think more generally, like, if a map goes into review and we say, we want you to change this, we don't want to add this as a ranked map unless you change it. The mapper just doesn't want to.
Good, yeah.
Just don't add it as a ranked map. Like, I mean, if the mapper doesn't want to change their map to, and we really want them to, then we just don't add it. But hopefully that won't really happen. I'm sure that in 99% of cases, like, you know, talk it through and then, you know, figure out a compromise that everyone's happy with. But if there's really no budging on it, then yeah, we just don't have to add a map. Like, we don't have to add everything that we need.
Or you just you add it with the spinny stuff and have it unranked or whatever. Like, just to reiterate, like, ranked is you get like rank points for it, which are like the overall game mode rank points, and then unranked has a leaderboard, but you don't get rank points. Then the one thing I want to point out, like, I don't know if it's right to call those things RNG. I mean, they are completely deterministic. The spinny things are going to be kind of RNG because they're spinning the whole time and like they don't stop spinning. The spinning isn't relative like when you started your run, but in the future they will be, right? Because with save restore stuff, that will get reset as it is. When you like reset a run, the spinny things would reset to their original state. So like, you could sort of argue that, well, then at that point, like, if the spinny thing is like 10 seconds into the map, then like you can try and get like specific cycles or whatever, and like that's something that like speedrun in other modes have, right? Like you have like mechanics like that, and you try to hit like a certain cycle, that kind of thing. That sounds quite fun, you know. Like, if it is actually consistent, there sounds like those mechanics could be a lot more tolerable. Because those things just don't work well on multiple game modes, or multiplayer games, right? Because like you have multiple clients and they all need to be. The spinny thing is spinning in the same way for all of them, but in Momentum it's not like that. It's the spinny thing's purely local. Just because someone's in your lobby, that doesn't affect it. Like, it's their spinny thing can be at a different point, and we don't network their spinny thing. I like the spinning walls on fruits. Those are fun. But also, like, if those restart when a stage starts, I guess those wouldn't. They just restart when the map starts. Like, they'd be consistent in a way. So, I kind of like the idea of having a map that had, like, you had to get, like, a certain cycle to, like, get past a spinny thing at a certain pace. Forgot about that.
We have, like, 4 more questions that have been added to the slides.
We can keep going. I'm good to keep going.
It's a Q&A. It's the main event.
Is there someone else I can spec? Someone play some like surf. I want to watch surf.
Let me know when you move on to the next question. I'll read it.
Yeah.
Choose a map.
I'm gonna play a surf map actually. What's the next question? Is it hard?
A little bit. Yeah, kind of.
Is it hard?
Whatever. I don't know. Like I don't know if I have to think to answer it. I want to play the game.
Yeah. So the next question is from Lucy. How and who will decide what will be allowed on a given surf map to have the run be valid? With stuff like spine rides, bouncing off untriggered displacements. I don't know if maybe there was more to this, but the basic idea here is that anything that we don't want players doing in the game, our goal is to make it impossible to do that in the game.
Yeah.
So stuff like, and I'm not entirely sure what spine ride implies here, but stuff like, you know, bee hopping in places where you shouldn't, and like doing things that shouldn't be allowed. Like, we try to get rid of those stuff like in game code if we can. So we don't want to be going through and like manually reviewing runs and saying, oh no, this guy broke the rules.
Yeah, we're absolutely
this one is
not
invalid.
doing that. If you can get a replay and you legit submit that replay, like, we're not gonna say like, oh, there's a rule for this map, you can't do this. Like, no C boosting or whatever. Like, we get rid of C boosting, right? Like, so, and yeah, bad maps deserve to get cheesed. And so if it's an existing map that, or if, well, this is the case both for ports and for original maps, where during map submission have a week-long test period, like, really jank strats hopefully get flagged up then, and then if there's really jank stuff in the future, in some cases where, I think we discussed it before, and I'm not sure we had a sort of consensus here, but feasibly, like, in some cases where the community all agrees, like, this strat sucks, we should do this, then we could modify the map and reset leaderboards. We don't currently have support for bumping times back. Sorry, like some servers do. I've got something on my mouse, like on the mouse thing. And so you're not gonna. We don't have a way to like just increase everyone's time, like just because they did it before like a map got patched. And I don't think we'd ever want to do that. Maybe, I don't know, but like generally we want to try our best to avoid having to update maps like that. But we would if we really needed to. But we're not gonna ban a time because it's doing some specific thing, because then you're in a situation where you have to tell every future player like, don't do this. Like, no. I guess you could have a situation where if a really jank strat is discovered and then immediately and then that map is disabled very soon after, we could remove that run still and then disable the map, change the map file, re-enable the map. But that's only going to work in cases where you don't have a ton of runs using it, right? Whilst if you do have like every other run is using this dumb strat, like you either have to reset the whole thing or bump every time back, which is maybe okay, but is a shame. And also, I don't know how that works with replays. But
yeah, so Lodi, your question in chat about displacements being laggy. Actually, displacements and momentum are really good. Momentum displacements are better than like other map displacements. They're not laggy. No, there's not any restriction on surfing of them. I think what the question is asking is in the cases of like displacements that don't teleport you when you touch them. Like maybe people slide off them or b-hop on them or something. Like in those cases, hopefully we either catch it in map review or like we're very likely going to turn off auto hop and surf anyway. No, you can make like surf ramps out of displacements.
I'm going to add a little asterisk to what Louis just said about being very likely to turn off auto hop and surf. We have been discussing it. I'm not sure we've got that. Have we gotten close to saying we want to do that?
I can't remember, because when we discussed it in a team meeting, that was after we talked about all the hammer stuff, and so we didn't go over it very long. All of the surfers who actually said something in the surf channel seemed to be okay with the idea of turning off auto hop and replacing it with a speed boost, but I know that we have some reservations, because then it kind of puts the onus on us to figure out like where can you b-hop, like what places do we add b-hoppable triggers and stuff like that. I don't think that we discussed it internally, but I was kind of thinking that it sounds like something we're likely to do. I don't know if we will or not, but it's at least on the table.
Yeah, it's definitely on the table. But yeah, it does seem really. I'm still a bit spooked by that idea, but we should definitely talk about it more. But yeah. But yeah, if the displacements are consistent now as well, so like it used to be that like you just get stuck in displacements all the time and just collide with stuff for the wrong reason. This is what I was showing this map. This map has a silly trick on it that like, this is, yeah, you just live with this. It's quite funny as well. But yeah, like displacement used to suck, and in normal source they do suck because like random traces just like fail with them, or like they just some traces will like say that they collided somewhere and we didn't. And Rio fixed this reptile skip. Oh, is that using that's using a prop, isn't it? Oh God, this map. For goodness sake, this map. Shall we move on?
Yeah. So the next question is from Northern, asking, would you potentially look at adding a ranked map race mode? And I think what they were talking about is like sort of map of the week thing, where every now and then a map is different and everyone has a limited amount of time to complete, or a limited amount of time to submit times for it. This is another thing that I don't see us getting to till after 1.0. It's been talked about a lot. I think Trackmania has something like this, but we're not doing this before releasing the game. We're going to release the game first, then add this. If we add it.
Yeah, I don't... Like... Yeah. No, doing kind of cover today thing would be great. Sorry, does that work for just new maps? Or is it you just pick an existing map? Or how does it work?
I think we could do anything.
Yeah, I mean, picking just an existing one and having just a specific leaderable thing for that. That I really like, and that, like, fits into, like, current systems and stuff. Like, it'll be an additional thing on top of it, but, like, it doesn't screw with, like, current stuff.
Yeah, sorry, Northern, I had to cut off a lot of your question. Like, I wanted to include more of it, but I didn't have time to, like, figure out how to reword it. But, yeah, after 1.0, that's definitely a possibility, and I think MX Craven also mentioned that, like, in Defrag, they do a similar thing called War Cup, which, like, anybody can organize this stuff in Momentum. Even if it's not official, like, there's nothing stopping you from organizing your own, like, Cup of the Week if you want to. And that's something that we really would like to have. I don't know if we'll get that by 1.0, but this is one of those things I think we could do before 1.0. It's like, make Momentum have good streaming tools, or like to get feedback from streamers. And say, like, what stuff can we put in the game to make their lives easier. That I definitely see being like a feasible and like maybe even really important thing to do before 1.0. But I don't think that we're going to be adding any like official like competition or cup systems before 1.0. We're going to mostly leave that to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Any other input?
I failed my run because I was reading chat. Yeah, sorry, what did Masok say? So wait, you organized a tournament, but sorry, you wanted to do
like
this
an
one
ongoing tournament?
Yeah, I'm confused by that. Because yeah, it's like tournaments now before 1.0 release, like you definitely wouldn't want to be using like up-to-date Steam stuff, right? Oh, okay. Wait. How does it... What? How does it... Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I think that would probably take a while and back and forth to understand what that means. But shall we move on?
Yeah.
So, Resistance asked, why was mapping mode ever a thing? I think people didn't like SV cheats for some reason and felt that, like, they didn't... I don't know.
Well, okay, what we have right now is... Well, actually, I don't even know if this is implemented or not. I don't think it is. But, like, right now, in the game, there are multiple different ways that you can cheat by turning on SV cheats, doing some stupid stuff, then turning it off again. In the future, we will hopefully have a system to deal with this, but that's an entire thing on its own. So I think the intention of mapping mode originally was to sort of latch it and make it so that the only way you can access some of this cheat stuff is to put the game into a special mode that can't possibly submit runs. I don't know why it was called mapping mode specifically, maybe because we figured those cheats were useful for mappers, but that's a simpler but less user-friendly way to sort of achieve the same thing. Right now, what we have is, I think you can just turn on cheats and give yourself weapons and all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah. We will eventually have stuff to prevent that. I don't think it's in yet. But it's more difficult to prevent those sorts of cheats. And we want to prevent that before it gets to, run validation. Because it's possible that people forget that they change settings. But that's a more difficult thing to do than if you just have it you have to restart the game, or at the very least reload the map to change the cheat setting. That's how Quake 3 does it. In Quake 3 you can't change cheats without also reloading the map. I think that's probably what the original intention was.
Enjoying watching this conch gameplay. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense. But it's a bad solution to a genuine problem, and the good solution is actual anti-cheat, and then maybe some stuff that also stops you doing this with SV cheats like that. But yeah, I think we kind of insult past versions of ourselves or even other devs too much. I can't stand map. I'll miss. there's logic to it. It's just it was such an annoying system, and everyone hated it. And
yeah, I think a good sort of middle ground would be like what Defrag does, where you have to reload the map to do stuff, and the game can kind of switch between states. I was always kind of like skeptical about getting rid of mapping mode and not replacing it with anything like that. I think as long as we have good save state stuff, it'll be fine. But I'm still kind of waiting to see how that plays out, because I foresee us potentially having issues and having to end up re-implementing some kind of more restrictive system. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Mapping mode was a bit too much, though, having to restart the whole game.
Well, it's not just that, but modifying the launch options and like.
It's
just
too.
So annoying.
I mean, I could definitely see a world that's okay, where you just get a startup option on Steam, but. But I mean, even then, yeah. Like,
I just feel like there has to be a way to like, something that like forcibly restarts the server, like if you change the convars, like something like that. Like, surely that's a better way to do it. Like anything that is SV cheat protected, like don't let you change it until like you, I don't know, store those changes in just like a buffer, and then you have to do a command to like actually make the changes or something, and that reloads the server. I don't know, something like that like sounds really jank, but like in practice is like less horrible than this. I don't know.
Possibly, Natan, that could also work. I think what we wanted to do is we just wanted to like centralize everything behind SV cheats, because we knew that we would have the save state system. Like I said, I think it'll work. We might have issues with it, but like one thing I could see us doing is like when you change SV cheats, we take a temporary save state of the map, and then when you turn off SV cheats again, we restore that save state. So anything that you changed, like it all gets restored. As long as we can do something like that, it should be fine. And people, like, I do remember bringing this up once in a team meeting, and a lot of people were like, no, that's awful, that's terrible, having to reload maps just to, like, change settings. I was like, it's not that bad, but, like, okay. So I think that a lot of people would be really annoyed with that. People already didn't like mapping mode as is, so.
I'm just enjoying Mist getting stuck in this like random cage on this map.
Awesome. I've got 2 more questions. Shall I read the next?
Yeah, sorry.
So the next question is from Natan. There was talks about keeping leaderboards hidden for the first week when the map releases. Has this been discussed further within the team? Not really,
God, I didn't even...
as far as I'm aware.
No, I don't think we have. I don't know. Maybe we should.
I mean, I think that we can talk about it once we get run submission up. I don't think it's something that needs to be implemented before 0.10.0. So we have other things to talk about, basically. So.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I like it. I'm in favor of it. I just think it's not a priority right now.
What, so you can't see... The problem is, like, you can... During testing, like, you can see each other's replays. That's really helpful. And map testing, like... We do have the capacity for some maps to not go through the testing period and not have public testing, but...
I don't think public testing is a problem. Like, yeah, have public testing with public replays and stuff. And, you know, people test the map, and then when the map releases, people start, like, running the map. And I know that testing is going to involve running. But, if you're one of those people who wants to participate in a sort of closed, you know, gameplay thing, just, you know, don't do your best runs during testing.
Yeah, that makes some sense. So
because it's not about just like we hiding times across the board just because we want to hide times. The specific purpose is to provide a period of time where people compete blindly without being able to copy each other. And since testing is not really competition time because the map's not even added yet, like I don't think that's a problem. Everyone in chat is just talking about the conch map.
Yeah,
I haven't been watching.
the Miss got stuck in just this really, really funny way. Okay. Yeah, I'm not at all against the idea. I don't know if we want to make it so the submitter can decide, like, if it goes through that period, or that would probably be the easiest way of doing it. Very easy to implement. But yeah. Oh my god, I'm tired. I've not been up that long.
Well, we have only one more question, so...
Okay.
Dolby asks, when in the pipeline are mappers going to be able to submit their maps? It feels like map submissions are not being accepted right now.
Yeah,
no, they're not.
That's exactly
map
right.
submissions 010 thing.
Yeah. So that's... Wait, Dolby, I showed you this yesterday. Yeah, this will be a thing at, soon. The front end stuff is mostly done. It's a bit buggy, but there's that whole system. Every mapper will be able to submit their own maps. People can port other people's maps, so they should only if like the original mapper doesn't want to do it or it can't be contacted. Yeah, but that will be 010 like relatively soon. Like once we get the 010 like new, like if we do end up having a pre-010 release, like pre-release kind of build and separate backend for that, like that will have all the map submission stuff.
I think we should do pre-release as soon as we have like working zone rules.
There's still.
I mean, I personally think we should have done it earlier, but
you can't play the game right now.
Like
it's like a total mess. Like you can't zone stuff. Like the backend doesn't work at all. Like, well, the backend partially works, but there's still stuff that like it's not ready for the.
You can play without a backend. I've loaded 010 without any backend connected.
What 010 stuff is there that's actually like useful right now?
All the entity refactor stuff, the entire Climb implementation.
Yeah, I guess.
DQ3 soon. That's not done yet, but
yeah. Oh, there's a question. I'm gonna just add it and then answer it. It's quite a good one. Zoning menu's going good. I don't think I was in a meeting today, but he was saying
yeah, Peenscreeker's been working on that. Yeah. He's working on getting like the camera and mouse input working along with the menu so that you can actually select the points from the corners of so.
Northern, just to answer the version thing real quick, it's called semantic versioning. It's just that if you think of it as like x.y.z, the x is just like the massive version, like a big change. So that would be 1.0 will be the first like full release. So that's like the x part. And then y is like a smaller milestone, and then z is like even smaller milestone. Z is like the smallest one. So it's just small changes. So right now we're on the 09s. 010 will be the next big milestone there. So there's nothing about the number of versions in like 09s, the 09s that affect when 010 comes out, right? They're just completely separate things. So, like, yeah. There's no, it would be a crap, any versioning system that like said that like you had to move to a next major version like after a certain number of minor versions have elapsed, like, I don't know why you'd ever want that, right? So, it's just not, because you'd have to like...
I suspect we'll probably do, overall, when you count all the minor updates we're going to do, it's probably going to be a lot more than 68 total.
Yeah. I mean, what we started doing a couple of years ago is being way more casual with when we put updates out. It used to be that, like, a new update was quite a big thing, but, like, it's just better to get changes out more frequently, and so, 09, like, 1 to 6 were, like, slightly larger kind of things, and we were a bit more organized with, like, releasing, but... Or just up to like 09.3, I think, but like, and like, you know, 08, 6, and 7, and 8, for instance, like, were big updates, and we did like release videos and stuff for those and things. But like, honestly, those probably really should have been milestone updates. I don't know why they were the 08 ones. But...
We moved from between 08.7 and 08.8, we changed the entire engine, and it was like a minor point release.
Yeah.
lodyb, so. 010 has a bunch of entity refactoring stuff, and all the zoning is completely different from what we have now. But I wouldn't say necessarily wait, because if you make a map for momentum, and if we add it, which we can if you want us to, it's going to get deleted at 0.10 anyway.
No,
all the maps are going to get deleted, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, we're not. We're not going to add your map before 0.10 now anyway, right?
We can't. We have been adding new maps if they're made specifically for Momentum. Like if you make a Momentum map and you'd like it to be in the game, we can add it for you. Just know that like any times that are gotten on it, all that stuff, it's going to be deleted at 0.10. And then all maps from then on are going to go through like the proper review process. So even if you release a map now, you'll have a chance to go back and revise it later. So like if you want to release your map now, go ahead, and then like once 0.10 is out or once the pre-release is out, you'll have a chance to like remake it with the new zones and use the new entities and stuff. If that
will also probably allow you to just resubmit it before 1.0 anyway, or at 1.0. Like we want to get stuff done between 1.0, between 0.10 and 1.0, like kind of stable, so they can contribute to the pool of maps we have at first after 1.0 releases. But I'm tired. That doesn't mean that. What am I saying? What am I talking about? That doesn't mean you can't change it between now and then. Like if a mapper wants to make some changes, they're welcome to. You might have to like talk to someone, and we might have to have a sort of weird process for it. But we'll figure it out. We're not going to like pointlessly restrict people from changing it, even when the map is going to get completely reset anyway. All the leaderboards are. Yeah. But also, like, yeah, if you've done a momentum-specific thing, you can get it in now, if you want. If it's got, like, momentum-specific entities, we'll add stuff now. But we're almost at the point where it's kind of just worth waiting for 0.10 anyway. Noiter? Then, sorry, there was another thing I was going to say, and I've completely forgotten. I've lost all energy for some reason.
There's a question about Overwatch.
Oh, sorry, this one I was going to... Yeah, I have had on screen, I was going to answer it. With Replay could be an Overwatch-esque, which is Valve Overwatch, not shit Overwatch. Where trusted players can weed out cheated runs. I don't think we'd ever do it quite like that. We're not guaranteeing that our anticheat is like going to catch every single run. We think we'll get quite a lot, and but that's people can still report runs. So it sounds more like I don't know why we'd do something in that kind of formal a way. I think if you suspect someone of cheating, you should go through and watch more of their runs and then...
Yeah, I think that's the main difference between us and like CS2 is that the leaderboards are public. Anyone can just look at any replay. You don't really need like an Overwatch-like system. People are going to be looking at runs, and all the top runs are going to be scrutinized by the whole community. So, like, we don't really need to organize people to do that. Like, it's kind of just going to happen because every run is going to be public. Anyone can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lodi, maps have a version control called map submission versions during map submission. So you can submit a new BSP and zone file and modify stuff about the map when it's in the map submission pipeline. And it's just a single version number that just increments, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I assume you're familiar with numbers. But then... after it's released, it goes into the like approved state. You can't modify the map. Like once the map is out in Momentum, the mapper has no control over whether the map. They can't change the BSP file, right? Because we just want the leaderboards to be consistent, right? It wouldn't make sense to allow that. If there's a massive issue or bug that's found in it, then it can be discussed. But like, that would be very case by case. And then we're not using Steam Workshop for anything, no, because it doesn't give us anything like the level of control we need. For our system. So yeah, we have a version system. You just add a new BSP. We store every BSP during submission, and then it's just after submission we wipe all the versioned ones. Then yeah, there's like a change log you can give in the submission form, and like people can be reviewing stuff and make reviews between different versions and stuff. So yeah. And then we have this review system where people can review, and certain reviews can be made requires resolving, which means the map can't be approved until that review's been resolved. So we're just kind of doing what GitHub and GitLab and stuff use, kind of, or taking inspiration from that. where the goal is kind of just finding like that's kind of more aimed at like beginner mappers, right? Or like, you know, if your map doesn't have any lighting, like we're gonna say add lights, you know, that kind of thing. Is that it? Was that the last one? Oh, that's true. Yeah,
yes.
your thing that doesn't. Yeah. I feel like that map could look better with lighting.
We don't have any more questions. I think if anyone asks anything else in the Discord, maybe we save it for the next Q&A. I'd be down to answer more questions from chat. If anyone has any.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, once O10's out, we'll probably have a lot more to talk about and more to show. It's just, yeah, it's quite a lot of faff.
What do you mean, Natan? I literally answered his question.
Well, when's the Chase one?
He asked if some map versions are distinct and people like both of them for different reasons, would we allow both? And I said, yeah, I think we can have different versions of the same map. They just have different leaderboards. Or if it's the sort of thing where you can fit it into one BSP, I think we're still going to have like the ability to have multiple tracks, right? And that way it would have one BSP, but maybe you could like choose if it's convenient to do that. Otherwise, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have like, you know, two versions of some classic map. Like if you look on Tempest, you'll see a bunch of jump maps that have. Well, I didn't answer it in stream. I answered it in chat, but like on Tempest, a lot of jump maps. There'll be like 3 different versions or 2 different versions that have their own leaderboards. I think that's what it looks like.
You're enjoying yourself, right?
It's fun.
Yeah, see, that's like the sort of thing where you have a surf map that has brushes that are turned on or off, and that like changes the difficulty. Like that's the sort of thing that we can do in game with like different tracks and have in-game entities
isn't.
Like detected, right? No, why not?
Because we can only have one main track.
Can you not have like alternate tracks, bonus tracks, or something?
You can have bonuses, but you can only have one main track. Is the restriction we decided on.
So are we not going to do the thing with like defrag maps where like you can have a normal version and haste version in the same BSP? Those are different BSPs now.
I think so. I think they have to be. I mean, you could bring it up with like Rio and people, but I thought we discussed this. Is that the common?
You probably have, but it's changed from the last time I remember.
The system of only having one main track was something we talked about quite a lot, and agreed that it was, at least I thought we agreed, that it was a lot easier to manage everything if you only have the one.
Yeah, maybe. Like, so you couldn't have like a main version of a map and then like the hard track? Or would that be forced to be a bonus?
I don't even know how... Can bonuses change like whether certain entities replied? That's just a defrag flags thing, right? Is that how it works?
I don't know.
You might have to bring it up with Rio, but yeah, I don't... I mean, I like the idea of having multiple main tracks, but it massively complicated lots of stuff. So if we had to do it, we could. It's just... Yeah.
But is there no like alternate form of track that's not a main track, but also not like a bonus?
No. No, there's main tracks. With something like Exocube, they'd just be 2 different maps. Like, if the geometry is changing a bunch, like... I mean, if there's a way to do it, bring it up with Rio. I got the impression that we were okay with not doing the multiple main tracks. And I think a case like Exocube or yeah, some of the other ones, Parrot Selector or whatever it's called, right? And I thought for those we'd just be having multiple BSPs, but. Bring it up, Eterno Lilumia, and if other people want to talk about it, we could, but...
No, I think it's fine, I just wasn't aware that had changed.
Yeah, this has been... I think we decided this quite early on in working on the implementation of everything, like, I guess about 6-9 months ago or something, like a while ago, because...
Yeah, I probably would have been around at that time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the conversation all that well, And I mean, if we had to do it, I assume we could, but
no, I think it's fine to have multiple BSPs.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many cases you end up with of requiring multiple, and if it is like loads, that's quite annoying. But
I don't think it is. I think the main thing is like in Defrag, some maps have different entities depending on the game mode, but that's not a track thing. You can have the same track and then just have like some other entity that says, "Oh, what game mode are you in? If it's this one, you have this entity. Otherwise, you don't have that entity." That doesn't necessarily need to be like a separate BSP or track thing.
Yeah, that's.
I don't.
It's
I don't think there's that many maps.
Yeah, the idea is we don't have a system where like you can be on a map and there's like two different main tracks, one that's haste, one that's not haste, and like they each have main track leaderboards and stuff. Like again, I think we could. It's just the format becomes more complicated. Back end wise, and front end wise, I'm sure we could do it. But then the main hard areas, I think, are Rio stuff, and I don't know the details there. So I mean, we could talk about it more with them, but yeah.
Could we do like with like for example 2 maps that have the same BSP, like for example with easy and hard track? Could we do like that? For example, you you launch the map, you playing it, and then you want to switch the like easy and hard. Could we do that? We don't like reload the map. We just change the like ID of the map and like zones and stuff.
And change some specific map state.
Like to have the same BSP if this like map is already launched and you're playing it like, and then just change the stuff that is related to leaderboard.
Yeah. I think we maybe did talk about that. I'm afraid this stuff I don't know well enough to really.
I think that would be doable. I think it would just be kind of difficult. I mean, ideally, with momentum, the other thing that we could hopefully do is optimize our map loading a shit ton and make it super fast to just load a new map. And that won't be like as bad as it is in the typical Source game where you have to sit there for like a minute and wait for a new map to load.
Yeah, if we had unlimited time, we could make map files way smaller and way faster to load. Well, I mean, we'd do, if we did like async cube map generation as well as putting out load as a loading process to be, I guess, itself kind of more asynchronous. And supposedly we could get async cube map generation like pretty fast, right? So you'd get loading times down and the file size would be a lot smaller. The current map submission system wouldn't allow you to do let the same map have multiple BSPs. We could add in support for that. It's just a bit weird, but we could do it.
I think we're talking about the opposite, where like multiple maps share the same BSP.
That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, did I say it wrong?
I think you said the other way around, where like the same map has multiple BSPs. In this case, it'd be one BSP.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tied to different maps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you'd have maps in the kind of momentum database sense.
Oh, right, because they are each like separate entities in buckets. So yeah. They essentially on the backend side they are just essentially like 2 different files.
What?
Yes.
Well,
the map BSPs.
No, the problem is mainly the actual submission process. So the logic there is really hard. You then have to think about like map deletion and like making sure that like another map doesn't. If 2 maps share, you could have them both like refer to the same file and like the object store or whatever. Like but you don't need. It's mainly map submission. It gets more complicated for that, and having a way of like demonstrating this, so it could work, but I don't. Yeah, it's a mixture of front end and back end that would be both a bit annoying. But we could do. It's just I don't know.
I think in the case of something like Jump Ziggurat, like Fishy mentioned, we could either like do what Tempest does and have main track and bonus, or we could just split that into 2 maps. One that's I'm not really sure what staged versus linear means in rocket jump terms, but yeah, whatever that is. Well, see, it's complicated because we've decided in Momentum Mod that surf stages are analogous to jump courses. which sounds insane, except that those two things both have individual times, and so it makes sense to have like the subsegments of a map which have individual times be considered the same thing. So a single stage in Surf is zoned the same way as an entire course in Rocket Jump.
Yeah, and in Momentum, a stage could have checkpoints.
Yeah, which I don't think most Surf maps would do, because they're not designed that way, but every jump map with courses would do.
Yeah. Well, if a Surf map wanted to do that, they had a map with really long stages, they could put checkpoints on the stages. And that's not really like something we deliberately wanted, but it's just like a consequence of we need that for how Rocket Jump works, and so.
Yeah, and like in Momentum terms, your average jump map with one course is linear. Even though it has checkpoints and intermediate teleports and stuff, it's linear because it doesn't have multiple stages. It's very confusing, but that's how it is. So, but yeah, if there's a hard version that just teleports you back to the start, yeah, that could either be its own map or like a bonus. I think maybe, I was thinking about this the other day, if I was to do this from scratch, I would have a third level of organization for courses and make each jump analogous to a Surf stage, and checkpoints just be like a smaller thing that maybe exist, maybe don't. Checkpoints would be like defrag timer splits, and then like have a course type zone for whole courses. But like we're way too far into zoning to like change that, and I don't.
Why is that better? Sorry.
Just because it maps more like naturally to the way that you look at a map. Like if I tried to look at a Surf map, like a stage Surf map, and your average jump map, and like draw comparisons, I'd be like, oh yeah, one jump in a jump map is the same thing as one stage in a Surf map.
But that's not how we zone. Aren't they? But
it's like an individual unit of like playable map. It's just we don't do times for individual jumps, but in Surf you do times for individual stages.
Right. So in the courses and stages, like courses and stages are functionally really similar. Like I think we're saying we are the naming
in terms of the timer,
UI
yes, but in terms of like if you look at a map, like if you look at I don't know
exactly.
What's a good like simple example? Like I don't know, jump above or something. You'd be like, oh, this map has X number of jumps. Like each jump is a single like section of the map. It's the same as a stage in a Surf map. It's like the same size.
That's just how we show stuff in the UI, and we could show it differently in the UI if we want. We don't want to change the data structure to add like stuff differently.
I'm not proposing that we do. I'm saying that if I designed this from scratch, that's probably what I'd do.
But if it would be bad if you did that from scratch like that. Like,
no, I don't think so.
You're doing a thing. It's just named different and UI's different. Like, you don't want to. Come on.
No,
okay.
I don't think you get what I'm saying, but that's okay. This stuff is all very like difficult to talk about because there's a billion different terms for the same thing, and like, it's difficult to visualize everything.
Sorry, Istanok. The stage linear thing. Bray, go in the vent.
I'm not gonna go in the vent.
Go in the vent.
I'm not gonna go in the vent.
Go in the vent. The stage linear thing would be Ace would be staged, and the distinction Momentum will make is getting a world record on like stage 2 will require you starting from the start of stage 2. So the main track run is that, but you don't get, like, just because... And the same with, like, Omnific. Omnific's kind of a good example here. So, like, if you want to get, like, top time on, like, stage 16 or whatever of a stage on Omnific, you can't get that during a full run. If you have speed coming from stage 15 into 16, like, you'd have to reset to have a valid... be running a stage timer. And we'll show that in the UI, but basically there's this concept of like primed timers, where a time is primed, like if you meet certain conditions, and you can only start a stage run, or you can only start a certain run if like you meet the prime timer conditions. So on a stage linear, if you enter something with speed, like in Omnific, for your timer to prime, you have to like be below a certain speed, and so if you don't ever go below that speed, the timer won't prime. Hopefully that makes sense. And I like that, and I think everyone we've spoken to seemed happy with that. Like, it's pretty arbitrary. Like, what, like, if the world record is like whoever does like some like stage 8 of Ace the fastest, and that just depends on like how much speed they had coming into it. And presumably in some cases you're going to get stages where actually you could approach it kind of from a different angle that might be fast, like slower doing a whole main track run, but like it's going to be fastest for getting like record on that. That seems really weird to like need to do that, you know, like, so you have to do like a standing start. Or, yeah. What are these boxes? With RJ courses, you have to meet the priming conditions, yeah. So, like, if you have loads of speed going into the start of that course, you wouldn't have the timer for that course running unless you went below the speed threshold.
Yeah, I think it's going to be common, relatively, that like in some maps you're never going to have like a stage run that's part of the main run, just because unless you're going really slow,
yeah,
and you mess something up. Like, the best strat is always going to be to try and carry as much speed through. And if the map lets you do that, then on some maps you're never going to get a course time while you're running the whole map. And that's kind of just like one of our sort of design limitations, is we want runs to more or less contain everything from like the start to the end. We don't want to include like external stuff or timer restarts or anything like that. I
broke Surf Ace somehow. What did I do? I might have been, I was like messing around with Lumper that I did something.
To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what the term linear means. I don't think in Momentum, the way that we have everything set up, like that's a meaningful term.
Yes, it is.
Like, is it? What does it mean? What does
linear means mean? You have no major checkpoints. Major segments.
So no stages.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
linear just means like it's like one stage, basically. Like, again, a stage surf map can have checkpoints if it wants per stage, but
yeah, that means that the majority of... See, again, this is where I feel like there's a bit of a mismatch, because a linear surf map is like a map you have to play all the way through, like beginning to end, and if you fuck it up, you get sent back to the start, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a single sort of thing. Whereas every single jump map is, by that definition, almost all of them are going to be linear, but they don't play that way. They don't play in a linear way where you have to do the whole thing all in one go.
Yeah, the stage.
They all have checkpoints.
The term linear doesn't mean that much. The linear works.
But see,
well
I think people use that term that way because, like, Fishy was saying, like, yeah, Ziggurat has a staged and linear version, except it doesn't really have what we call a staged version because it has no major checkpoints.
Okay.
The linear version is just no checkpoints, no like minor checkpoints.
In Jump,
it's weird.
It just means like. If something's linear, it just means it's a map that doesn't have any jumps. It's only just
like
one jump.
2 maps like that. But I think what we're doing is we need to like pick terminology and force things to stick with it. And I think what we've done so far is more or less pick the surf terminology, and we're just going to use that.
That's not true.
Which I'm fine with.
No, I've said we should do that. I was under the impression that the agreement was we're not doing that. We are calling it stages and checkpoints. Sorry, we're calling it what are the courses and jumps in Rocket?
Courses and jumps. Yeah, that's what we're calling stages and checkpoints. But then you say like linear. Is linear going to mean a different thing in a jump map as well?
You don't use linear like anywhere right now. I don't know how we're doing station, like we're calling stuff station linear, because it is kind of per game mode. Like
okay.
I agree.
Yeah, if we're not using the UI, I'm not talking about the UI. I'm just talking about the way we talk about maps.
Yeah, because I can definitely see like my maps. Like there's maps that I have that.
Well, okay, so linear.
Like there's not any speed carried between the jumps, so I would just make a stage for every jump. But then, like that would all be called courses. But
yeah, but that's I think that's something that like I don't know. I think jumps maps we kind of have to. I think stages, and I still think in that case, actually just using the surf terminology is better. Sorry if the jumpers will hate me, but If you
well,
can,
that's what I've been doing.
If you can
I've
keep
been avoiding course and jump.
If you can keep speed and arguably other state through between jumps, then it's a checkpoint. If you can't, it's like a stage boundary, and that makes some sense for jump because most maps end up just being linear, right, in jump like that. And I get that the linear terminology doesn't work as well there. If some jump people think of linear as being like literally you just can't like fail at all. But yeah, I don't think the terms like stage and linear work particularly well there. But at the same time, like functionally, you do want to have if you can't keep speed between stages on a jump map, it makes sense to like have a timer for that and let people compete for that. Like if you can, right? Like something like jump bomb
Not
or whatever.
necessarily.
Like why not just let people have stage times on each of those stages?
I mean, if you
bombs like even
want to
more
do that, I guess you
interesting.
could. That's
They'll
just
have
how
like
it's
3
generally done.
jumps every like teleport sometimes. So they'll have like I don't know, some jump maps do. I haven't played bomb in a long time, so maybe not bomb, but there's a lot of jump maps that will have like you do 3 jumps kind of linearly and then you get teleported to something else. And I guess I can see those
I don't
being,
think
like,
it's correct to say
stages,
that.
but
Like if you stop between these 2 parts, then they should be considered different stages.
Yeah,
I don't
fair
think that
enough.
necessarily makes sense. But I mean, I'm not trying to debate that we change things. I'm just saying like this is how it is. I think I'm fine using stage to mean course and checkpoint for jump.
I don't know
fine.
what we do for the distinction between staged and linear because it is clearly a meaningful distinction. But so just to be clear, in our case, the way that applies well to surf is something you can see like clearly from the way like the map is zoned. Like a map in surf is linear if and only if it only has one major checkpoint. Or I forget if we've changed the term for that internally, but like where like there's only one bit that like you can reset on basically and like lose all speed and that stuff. So you can tell if a map is staged or linear just by like looking at like some other part of the UI that kind of says that. Like if it just says like it's got one, you could just have it say like one stage. I'm not actually sure how we're doing the UI for this. Honestly, I've barely been paying attention to the kind of game UI side of this stuff. But like that seems like a meaningful thing, and in Jump that would just be the equivalent of saying this map has courses. So I get that. So if we were to just keep using staged and linear, like the kind of KSF style terminology, or like what most surf servers use, then the jumpers would be like they'd have to get used to like that distinction of stage and linear being like, you know, linear means it has courses, stage doesn't have courses, stage means it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing is that in surf, if a map is linear, that has to do with not only how the map plays or how the map is zoned, but also how the map plays. Right?
Good.
'Cause
Yeah.
the reason that you have that map be linear is because you want the player to go all the way through. And that, so like the gameplay concept and the zoning concept both have analogies in Rocket Jump, but they don't line up with each other. Because we also have maps that you play all the way through, and we also have maps that you play where there's only one like start and end, or start that you reset to. But unlike in Surf, where those two things basically overlap, those two things never really overlap in Rocket Jump. And so like the terminology feels weird applying it to Rocket Jump, because it's like, okay, all these maps that customarily are like obviously segmented into different jumps, by the gameplay definition, are clearly not linear, because you don't play it from one, you know, beginning to end. They've got individual jumps segmented out.
Yeah.
By the zoning point of view, like it's only one course. There's only one time that you can set on it. There's only one place you can reset to. From that point of view, it is linear. And in Surf, those two ideas match up. In Rocket Jump, they don't.
Yeah.
So we just have to pick one. If we're going with the zoning definition, that's fine. We just say, like, to us, linear means it has one course. And we just go with that. But what's confusing is when people use linear to mean linear gameplay, But then other people use linear to mean linearly zoned.
Yeah, and we'd certainly, even if we were to have like a separate way of identifying, like if a jump map is like how Fishy was describing it, of like you can't or like there's no like fail, you can't reset back, hit a fail trigger and go back like part way through the map. Like you have to like no fail the entire thing. Like you wouldn't want to call that linear for jump anyway, even if you were having different terminology there, because that sounds really confusing if surf has a notion of linear that means one thing and jump has a notion of linear that means the other. It feels like in either case you want to not be using some of that terminology, right? But I don't know, like I don't know if we want to just show like different bits of the UI for different. I think given that this is just a property of zones and has no effect on game mode, I think having UI that does say linear and stage is helpful. Or maybe you just rely on people to just recognize it. People should be like, okay, if it's got one major CP or whatever, then like it seems quite weird.
If you look at a jump map and you see, well, that's the other thing is like I don't know if we're going to keep doing checkpoints the same way. What I was going to say is, if you can look at the map and see like how many stages it has and how many checkpoints are in each stage and in the main track and all that, then you can kind of infer how the gameplay is going to go. Because the way that we typically do things is, in rocket jump maps, we've been putting one checkpoint per jump. But in a map like Jump P. Diddy, or whatever it's called, or like the hard version of Ziggurat, where there's no intermediate points, like if you fail, you get sent all the way back to the start, you might still want checkpoints in those maps, just for like having timer splits. And I was also briefly talking about this with Rio in the Red server. It's like, if we want to encourage mappers to have sort of more restrictive checkpoints where we make them required, the best thing to do for jump would be to do more like what Tempest does and not have a checkpoint for every jump. Just have like 2 or 3 at, important points throughout the map. And so depending on how we choose to zone these things, you might not be able to completely rely on just looking at it in the UI to figure out like how the map plays. Then again, as soon as you load the map up and play it, you're going to find out. So like, it's not that big of a deal, I think.
Yeah, for contribution stuff, check out our GitHub, which is github.com/momentum-mod. Where we've got some of our web stuff and game UI and some other tooling stuff. Unfortunately, the core game stuff is closed. Original game mode editions. Oh, sorry. Were a lot of them from people making PRD open source code? So, Lumi, you can probably answer this well, right? This is a good question from Lodi.
Yeah. So, I think that this has happened in 2 cases since we've gone closed source. Me with Defrag and Game Chaos with Climb stuff. I would not say that that's a very reliable way to get into like the closed source contributions. I would say join our Discord server and talk to us and see if there's some of the open source stuff you can work on. At this point, things have changed so much that contributing to the closed source game by making changes to the open source one is not really feasible. Maybe, but I wouldn't recommend it. If you are interested in working on the game itself, talk to us, because there's a whole process to get people NDA'd to get access to the code, and we are very, very concerned about giving people access to the code who aren't going to actually like.
That's the thing. Like, even if you have people that have like good portfolio and seem really interested in it, like, that's not a guarantee that they're actually going to work on stuff. And it is, frankly, really shit for us if we license someone who never works on the project. We don't have a set number of people from Valve or people that we can license, but it's obviously finite and very finite. So it's a very major downside or detriment to the project if someone says they want to work on stuff and then doesn't once we've licensed them. So generally what we've done for like people is we've looked for people that have contributed to other areas of Momentum doing open source stuff, because like if you can do like source engine C++ stuff, like you can do some C#, like just learn it. Like it, and most people can and like have. Well, the people that we have license we have, so Bird, Panzer, Pinscreeker, I guess myself in a way, like all my contributions were too. But as you say, Pano work is a little bit harder like without game access, but like this UI, like I did without game code access. Like Nick hooked up the sending the data to this, but like all of this is done without license. Bloody Pano's kind of cool because Pano's in JavaScript and like quite web-like. It's fucked up, but it is based on web stuff and has like shitty CSS and things like that. So it's very interesting. Pano's really cool. And yeah, like this is Panorama, like this whole system. This is hover stuff. This is just standard like events list and stuff like you do in a thingy thing. Like I've made this in the. I did a version of this UI in HTML. Let me just go back to the spooky Chromium window real quick. Like this thing that I made, just as a kind of overkill addition to the website. This I made as a mock way of doing the game UI, because like most of this UI like I did and styled and stuff, so I just did it in HTML. This was really fun because in HTML I can actually use just like an SVG, right? And this is just an SVG where like the paths I've handled manually. Like I literally just wrote these paths out by hand to like align up with this stuff. Like just look at the, don't know how well you can see that, but like yeah, it's just an SVG. It's much more annoying in Pano. It's like in Pano it's using UI canvas, which is a shitty version of kind of HTML canvas that uses, I don't know if we can say what it uses internally, maybe we shouldn't. The way it works is silly, that Valve implemented canvas in source 1. I don't know if it's different in source 2, but this like shaded area and these lines are done with their kind of canvassing, which is not too bad, but like I had to do like a kind of segmented algorithm. It's kind of like how integration kind of looks when you kind of show how like mathematical integration works, like just doing like chunks of these I did. But yeah, you can do it in JS. Like this is like this line graph component is done from scratch in JS and it's open source, which you can see. It's in TypeScript now actually as well. I'm running out of water. Gosh. And yeah, a lot of my early Momentum contributions were doing Pano stuff and yeah, like things like the actual putting this leaderboard data in this thing is done through C++, and all the kind of networking side of it is C++. But the styling and kind of things like learn section, for instance, learn section is almost completely JavaScript. In fact, it's JavaScript to its detriment. Like it has to use like console commands and stuff. You have to have cheats on to use this because previously you needed to be in mapping mode because the way it like TPs you around is by Panorama. Like can access console commands. In the future we won't let it do that because that's too powerful and basically gives people a scripting system. But for this, for now, like the system of like teleporting you to a stage is done by firing a console command through Pano. Like this button fires a console command. So we wouldn't do that in our actual learn section implementation. Will be more done in game code, a lot more of it. But all this stuff is like pure Panorama, which is just JavaScript. And it's like proper JavaScript. Valve like successfully and rather decently embedded. Great. Bye. Oh crap! Sorry, I went back to the learn section. I went back to learn section and didn't change my thing. Also, my game just crashed, so you don't see the crash. Panorama has full V8. Like that's it. It's just embedded V8, and it works very well. It's a good job they did. It has like a debugger even. That's why we have WebSockets in the game right now. It's for the Panorama debugger, which is very cool. So yeah, loads of this UI is Pano, mixture of Panorama, C++ and JavaScript, which I think is actually a rather good combination in a weird way. So, do we have anything to talk about? I think we're nearly done. I've run out of water, so I'm a bit thirsty. Everyone's died.
No, I don't really have anything to add.
But yeah. Yeah, if you want to contribute, just give us a chat in the Discord. Give us a shout. Like, the best thing is always, like, talking to us, not just like picking a random issue on GitHub and not telling anyone, and then it's much easier for us to yeah, so the multiple main track thing, we could discuss more internally. I just saw your issue, Lodi, but, yeah, let's discuss at some point. Anyway, should we head off?
I think so.
Cool.
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, okay, well, I might stream a bit later, on this channel, we'll see. But, yeah, let's, we have anyone to raid? Aimer's streaming. You could raid Aimer. I don't know how to stream words. What am I talking about? Tube, you good to do timestamps? It's easy this week. We've got like everything in the Google Doc, in the Google Slides. She's lazy asking this during the stream, so I'm just DMing her. Okay, I'm gonna raid Aimer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry it's a bit of a lazy Q&A. Once that turns out, we'll have a lot more to show. I know we say that like the last 3 Q&As, but it's still true. We just haven't got it out yet.